This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Super J-Cast. I'm Joel Abraham, joined by Damon McDonald. Damon, how good is our new t-shirt?
Holy Hannah, yes, it is. When you sent me that design, here's the thing, I knew it was going to be good, just because we're big fans of the artwork that is produced by, how's it pronounced? Is it Talpa? How is it pronounced?
I think it's Tapla. I know she's from Thailand, obviously, the same country as my wife, but I don't think that's a Thai name. But anyway, this design blew us away, didn't it?
It really did. And like I said, we gave some preliminary ideas and she ran with it, and then it was awesome. We loved it, and we just had like one small little thing that we wanted tweaked because we wanted it to be a complete and total vanity project. So we needed to have our names on it as well. But couldn't be more thrilled.
Oh yeah, no one else is buying this. This is just for us and maybe our long-suffering family members. Like, hey, look what you got for Christmas. Now you can wear a t-shirt with my face on it. And Scampy's face.
Scampy's the winner on that one, right? Scampy's the big hit. So yeah, I mean that's we got another design, and soon we'll have room for more because it looks like we're going to break that threshold of what was that 25 we needed. So we were going to bust through that, and I don't know, it's fun. I'm actually wearing a Super J-Cast t-shirt right now, the logo, which is a hot seller as well. So listen, we appreciate everybody who is spending the money and supporting the show, because actually we do get a little piece of the pie of that, so it's very nice to see those orders run in. And again, we can see the orders, so we know who has bought, and we certainly do appreciate everyone who has.
Yeah, so give a shout out to Tapla. You can follow her on Twitter at @D_Tapla, Tapla, for doing that awesome design for us. She does loads of cool New Japan related stuff. And a shout out to all the cool people who bought our t-shirts. So Anwar, Kevin, Stephen, Nicole, Jason, Braga, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Jacob and Floyd. We hope you're enjoying your t-shirts, and I'm sure when you're walking around the street wearing your Super J-Cast t-shirt, you're the coolest motherfuckers in the place. So congratulations and enjoy, because that money's also keeping the Patreon wolf away from the door, isn't it?
That's right. We have the keys in our pocket, and the padlock is already on it. All we got to do is click it. So just keep it coming, kids, because we don't want to lock up the show. All the goodness that you get, all the negativity that comes spewing out of our mouths every week. Actually, I had a conscious decision to be like, you know what, let's keep it positive. Because here's the thing. We're talking about shows, and we're talking about positive stuff on the show, and New Japan in general. So I think today's going to be a very positive. So for those of you who again squirm in your seats over the negativity that sometimes comes out of our mouths, and I don't think it's negativity, I think it's objectivity. But anywho, I think today's going to be a very positive, uplifting show for everyone involved.
Yeah, big news that I saw today was from Chris Charlton's Twitter at ReasonJP, who you will be hearing from both of us in the next few weeks, I think, on his Eggshells podcast. General admission tickets for Wrestle Kingdom 13 go on sale at 10 a.m. Japan time this Thursday, including for overseas fans. So if there's anyone listening who's on the fence thinking, I quite fancy going this year, this Thursday, get on it, because not only will you get to see the greatest wrestling show of the year, you'll also maybe get to meet me, and that's equally as good, I think.
I think it's better, actually, the way the show's looking. To be honest with you, I think meeting Joel.
Wait, what are you doing? You're going to be positive this week.
You got that right. My God.
You're shitting on the card already.
Oh, you're right. It's going to be awesome. Here's the thing. Here's what I'll say though. As a positive spin, it's so much fun. They could bring out, whatever. They could bring out a potted plant, and it would still be great because the atmosphere is great and everyone having a good time.
I think they did that on the DDT Peter Pan show, actually.
A potted plant came out. Right, don't want to be surprised. That wacky.
I think that's their heavyweight champion.
Yeah. 6 hours of that. Whew, I don't think I could sit through that. Anywho, look, again, it's a pro wrestling festival. It's everyone loving the same things you do, and everybody's having a good time, and everybody's outside having a couple strong zeros, and look, not just fun to be had. So I wouldn't miss it for the world, except I'm missing this year. So what are you gonna do? Shoulder shrug. I'll be very sad and depressed come December, I'm sure, with everyone going. Everybody I know is going to the show too. I mean, I'm not even being. I don't even think I'm being out of line when I say everyone I know that's a pro wrestling fan is going to this show. It feels like so. I'll be here holding down the fort.
Not to try to make you even more envious, Damon, but apparently Strong Zeros, they do seasonal flavours, and the seasonal flavour at the moment, because it's getting a bit colder, it's winter, is ginger. And I don't know if you're a fan of ginger flavoured beverages, but I'm very partial to a ginger beer, even an alcoholic ginger beer. So if those ginger Strong Zeros are still around by Wrestle Kingdom, then this is going to be the best trip ever.
Well, here's the thing. I'm handing over. This is going to be the first year where I'm doing the handing over. Usually people are handing me money to be like, can you get me this? Can you try to get me that? Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to be that guy, and I'm giving money over just to be like, listen, just shove as many Strong Zeros as you can into a bag. Here's money for the Strong Zero, and here's money for in case your bag weight goes over on the hairline and you get an upcharge. I'll take care of that. So that will be happening because I need to have them in my life. I miss them so fucking much. That 9% of 9% alcohol. Oh, just what a way to wake up in the morning. I'm just chugging a Strong Zero and walking the streets of Japan. Oh, I miss it. Well, anyway, I'll be back, I'm sure. So we'll figure it out.
All right, sticking with the theme of tickets, let's quickly touch on the King of Pro Wrestling tickets, because apparently one or two listeners got very upset about this. Apparently there was still a couple of thousand tickets still on sale for King of Pro Wrestling the week leading up to the event, based on the seating charts, most of which were eventually sold. Lots of stuff happened that week. The main event, Triple Threat, was announced. The announcement was made by LIJ that X was going to be unveiled at the show. So a lot of this stuff going on. What do you attribute the boost in sales to?
I mean, we're talking about the King of Pro Wrestling show, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, look, I mean, it is New Japan, right? And I think people were kind of waiting for things to be announced. I don't think. Look, we talked to. I know that didn't you get somebody yelling at you about like us not mentioning that tickets sold in a week or some nonsense? What was that about? Help me out here.
Yeah, I got someone who was really, really mad about that. Like, it totally ruined their day.
Like, what was the... I mean... And here's the thing. We followed up with both... Wasn't it a comment on... wasn't it Joe Lanza? It was Joe Lanza, right? Who mentioned that the after they announced the Triple Threat, that all these tickets then magically disappeared, right? Is that and we didn't mention it because, you know, we were supposed to listen to every fucking podcast on God's green earth. And then,
I mean, apparently people want to hear me regurgitating facts from other people's podcasts. But anyway.
But then we followed up with someone who actually works for the promotion, right? Who said that's highly unlikely, right? Wasn't that the exact words that I sent you?
Mm-hmm.
That match when
I
it was
confirm that is the case,
right? So it's like You know, I specifically asked, you know, after this was announced, did X amount, what was the number, 3,000 tickets move at that point? And the feedback was, here's the exact view. I don't know, period, but I find it, you know what, let me bring it up, because I know I'm going to get fucking hammered if I don't say the exact fucking thing that was said. I don't know, period. I don't know. Sounds like Mr. Hand from Fast Times. I don't know. I doubt it was that much, but, and then he goes on to a history of walk-up sales, but I don't know, I doubt it was that much. I mean, you know, that's somebody who works for the fucking company, so what do you want from me? And again, that seemed like a big number. What was, again, 3,000? That's a big number for the walk-up. Again, I think a lot had to do with it. Maybe the weather was nice. I don't fucking know, but if they were the main event, so we'll give them the props for it. Great job, Cody.
No, I think it was X. I think LIJ's the hot act. Everyone loves LIJ. Everyone was thrilled about the prospect of a new member and guessing who it would be. So I'm putting it all down on the potential unveiling of Shingo.
I'm going to be honest. That had a portion. I'm sure there were people that are into the LIJ that wanted to see it live, and again, I think the brand has a lot to do with it as well. So look, either way, I think it's a great thing. I mean, but it's hard for me to be like, oh, it was definitely Cody and Kenny and Kota, but they were the main event, right? They were the last match to go on. So if it did sell out, and if it did move as many tickets as people are saying, or didn't, as people in New Japan are telling me, great. All everybody gets a piece of the pie. Everybody gets credit. Cody, Kota, Kenny, I like in there, Shingo, LIJ, the whole kit and caboodle. Everybody gets credit for a nice packed house for King of Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, let's stick with that positivity, because Power Struggle tickets only went on sale fairly recently. I think it was a few days ago to the general public, and they're sold out already.
Yep.
Which is a very good sign, because I think a lot of this you can also attribute to the popularity of LIJ, because you've got Naito and Evil in the double main event. You can also give some of that credit to Chris Jericho as a draw.
Yep.
So for context, last year's show, which was Tanahashi Ibushi with the Intercontinental title, also sold out well in advance. And 2016's Naito against Jay Lethal IC title match was only a few hundred shy as well. So I'm just reading off John Carroll's Twitter here. It's not so much a growth thing, but maintaining the same level. I did see some speculation that putting Jericho / the belt on ice for so long was going to hurt him, but that clearly hasn't been the case, though. And WH Park also replied to that. His take was that Osaka is a super hot New Japan market. They love Evil, and it's a pretty stacked card, because today they also announced Tomohiro Ishii against Minoru Suzuki for the Rev Pro British Heavyweight title on that card.
I saw.
So, Evan Deadly Sins announced that the event sold out. It's the 8th consecutive early sellout for New Japan in that Osaka Edion Arena, 5,500 seater. So Evan's take is that the venue's too small for New Japan big shows now. So do you think it's time they move that to Osaka Joe Hall?
Well, and again, I don't know the answer to this question because I don't have my seating charts readily available in front of me. But I don't. If I'm not mistaken, that's more of a 12 to 13,000 seat venue as opposed to where they are now, right?
Yes.
Okay,
that's correct.
And again,
I was there and I counted all the seats.
Did you?
So if there's any nerds out there who's like, he's wrong. I was there. I wasn't paying attention to the Kenny Omega against Kazuchika Okada match. I was counting the seats.
Right. Good for you. That's good journalism right there. We were talking a little bit about our journalism background. That's good. That's a good job by you. I can't wait for Pro Wrestling Analytics to come out. Be like, he performed 39% of his matches have arms wrapped. Shut up. He enters the ring through the second rope 16% of the time. That means. What was my point? My point was, before my asinine rant, was it's good news. And it's all of those factors that you mentioned, Joel. Should they, let's answer the question first. Should they run a bigger building? Yes. Yes, why not? Test the waters. There is one thing to be said. And again, I don't know how difficult it is to book a building. I don't know. But let's just assume, all things being equal, that the money that they get, the rent that they have to pay, whatever the case may be, that all things being equal from a business perspective, run the bigger building. I guarantee you'll do well. You'll do fine. Am I going to predict a sellout? Why not? Yeah, I would think it would. I would think it would. At this point in the game, sure. I don't. They're very conservative when it comes to that. It feels like very conservative, and they got a stacked show. This is a stacked show. If you go up and down the lineup, a lot of singles matches, a lot of title matches, a lot of interesting, thought-provoking, fun matchups. You do have the intrigue of Chris Jericho making an appearance, and it's not every day that he defends that Intercontinental title, as we well know. I will say this, though. I do have to give a little bit of a finger wag here. Not even a little bit of a finger wag. Pretty big finger wag. Came across Chris Jericho's promo for this match against Evil. I don't know if you saw this. And listen, I know he's a heel. I know he's playing American heel, Western heel. But to me, an interview with Kenny Omega seemed to get a lot of people's feathers ruffled when he talked about, how the Western stars, the Gaijins, were working harder than those of Japanese descent in the promotion. And everybody got all up in arms. And then this promo, Jericho is basically saying the same thing, but he's saying that about all Japanese people, right? And I was just listening to it, and I'm just
he said they were all timid, didn't he?
Timid, and it was kind of like, really? It's 2018. Like, this is heel heat in 2018. And again, things don't rub me wrong. You know what I mean? Like it takes me almost like a hammer to get beat over my head sometimes to be like, yeah, that's offensive, right? That could be offensive to people. But even me, I'm just like I'm listening to this. I'm like, what is this guy going off about? And I didn't see half the. I know it's a pro wrestling promo, but we're still doing like that kind of bullshit in 2018. I thought that was really weird. Maybe I'm out of line. Maybe I'm oversensitive, Damon. Who knows? But.
No, let's be right. If Kenny Omega has said the exact same thing, people would be crucifying him on Twitter. Like, woke Twitter would be destroying this guy. But
right.
Jericho said it. I didn't see anything. It seemed nobody really cared.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. And again, I'm not really, going out of my way to look for that kind of shit. But sometimes that shit follows you. And it's just like, oh, my God, everybody's upset. Everybody's all ruffled. But I didn't hear one peep. I thought that was really weird. I don't know why there was this... I don't know, this double standard? Because again, Kenny's was a pro wrestling promo to me, right? I really don't think he truly believes that the Japanese pro wrestlers are not working as hard as the American or Western or Canadian, whatever you want to call it. Right? I really don't think that. This is a wrestling promo. This is a wrestling promo, and one got crucified and the other one didn't. I don't know. I don't know where the standards are anymore.
I think part of the issue with the Kenny promo coming off the back of Dominion is that people really wanted to embrace him as a babyface, because it was a babyface story about him overcoming the odds with Ibushi and the Young Bucks by his side, and I think people wanted to bask in that, but then he just lurched immediately from this feel-good babyface moment to attacking all the Japanese wrestlers. So it was just that, I think the lack of continuity between those two moments was quite jarring for a lot of people. But
possibly.
Yeah, there's definitely double standards, and I think plenty of people have said it before. When you're holding that big gold belt, there's a massive target on your back, and people start criticizing you. Whereas before you were champion, they didn't really care that much. Yeah,
that's the honest to God truth. That is, I haven't heard. I haven't heard nearly as much when the chase was on, right? When he was chasing that title to where it is now. It seems like the minute he got that title, it was just like, wow, everybody's just laying, not everyone, but enough people are just laying the boots, and every little thing that he does that annoys people, or the people are just pointing at, picking at it. It's just like, geez, he's still producing really great pro wrestling matches, and yes, his promos can be, a little hammy, a little hokey, but that's what you've got from the jump. I don't know. Is that IWGP Heavyweight Championship worthy? Like that kind of, persona? I think the match.
Here's a little anecdotal thing, right? I saw someone on the Voices of Wrestling Twitter account, I think it was Joe, posting something basically calling the CEO show a flop. And then Kenny Omega appeared in the mentions. Like, they didn't tag Kenny, obviously, but he appeared in the mentions to basically debate the point. It wasn't It didn't seem to have a bad attitude or argumentative or anything. He just wanted to discuss that. He was asking, why did you think it was a flop? And it's fair enough to ask that. But then I'm just sort of looking at that thinking, this is the IWGP heavyweight champion. This is supposed to be the best wrestler in the world. And he's on Twitter bickering about the numbers of this little show. And it seemed a bit small time to me. I don't know if I'm just being fussy, but it didn't strike me as the sort of thing that Okada would have done.
No. But on the flip side, I'll give you the other side of the coin of that. I actually kind of think that is pretty awesome in the sense of, okay, he's willing to reach out to a popular, I think influential, I think a respected site that talks about pro wrestling. I think that's actually a good thing, and the fact that he would, whether it was Rich or Joe who tweeted it out, the fact that he came to it with, not throwing punches and listen, the worst thing that he could have done to me would have been blocking, right, instant block, fuck you, block, right. That would have been shit to me. That I would have taken more.
Or the snidey quote retweets.
Yeah, or that kind of, or stealing your pictures and not giving you credit, right? Right? That kind of shit. It's that.
I've got another story about that.
Oh, do you? Okay, save it. Make sure we'll come right to it. But the fact that he came, with, okay, so you have this opinion. Why do you think that? Because X, Y, and Z is what is the perception I'm coming from. Where are you coming from? And I'm sure that it was a little bit of a give and take back and forth, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I don't think it was. Yes, on the surface it would be like a famous sports reporter criticizing a performance of a game, and then the athlete saying tweeting back. But I gotta be honest with you, they do that. They do that. So. No, I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I actually applaud Kenny for reaching out and explaining his position or debating that position or how you look at it. I think that's good in this day and age.
Okay, you make a very good point. You've convinced me. I'll take the L there. He was perfectly polite, so well done, Kenny. You can take a victory lap there for that. While we're on the topic of Kenny, I do want to come back to the Power Struggle tickets at some point, but while we're on the topic, I'll just jump onto one question by Frankie, who says, do you think Omega appearing at an indie show to hype a match on a cruise ship is a massive piss take, considering all the other big names are on tour for the build-up to Power Struggle? Mm-hmm. He's legit done next to no tours apart from the G1 this year.
I did notice that as well. There was a pretty big angle on that show, though. I mean, it was weird that it happened in front of X amount of people that were in that building. Look, you would think that he would be on this tour. You would think that he would be on as many tours as possible. He is their champion. I don't know how that works. It seems like he can. It feels like he can sort of dictate that schedule. Now, here's the thing: we do have to consider flights and the focus of where the attention of the company is right now when it comes to the juniors. There's a bigger focus, and save a penny, not bring him in, because he's just going to be working tag matches. All right. Okay. I don't, again, right now I don't have that big of a problem with it. I did see the angle online with Don Callis. I don't know if you saw that. I thought that was pretty interesting, and it kind of put a final exclamation point on all the talk of him not coming back. It does feel like that Callis will not be back at this point, and I know that they're talking to other people and maybe having a rotating third mic or what have you, but again, I don't know his schedule, but maybe it was just a cost-cutting measure. And if they're going to do it, and give him a break up until he's got a big match at the Tokyo Dome. I'd like to see him. He's the champ. He is the face of the promotion at this point. But it's not a deal breaker for me just because the focus is on other things.
Okay, well, let's get back to Power Struggle then, which, as we said, is sold out with. I guess it's looking like Evil in the main event. How big of a draw is Evil, and what do you think his ceiling is? Can we attribute much of this sellout to him and his star power?
Well, again, if we're giving credit to Cody and Kenny and Kota Ibushi for the main event is the main event, and I think it has plenty to do with it. And he is in the main event now. Whether that's the novelty of seeing Chris Jericho in a one-on-one match and a title defense, I think that plays a factor as well. How big of a factor is Evil exclusively? It's got to be It's got to be a decent size of the pie, I would think. It's got to be a decent size of the pie. He's in a very popular faction. He's getting a title shot. People, truth be told, are hoping that Jericho does drop the title. And at the very least, they know something special is being presented in front of them. And again, it's a combination of Osaka being hot and the company being hot. So it's all these things playing a factor. But I think Evil being on top is a decent sliver of that pie. I'll give you that.
Okay, and also the caveat to that being, if we look at King of Pro Wrestling last year with Okada against Evil, that did a very good number as well. I think it did slightly more tickets than King of Pro Wrestling did this year. So the numbers don't lie, and Evil is selling tickets. So again, my question, what do you think his ceiling is? Do you think he is future champion material?
I think he could be Intercontinental. I think he could absolutely carry that.
No,
title.
I mean IWGP heavyweight champion.
No. I don't. Not. Here's the thing, and people might give the boots to me on this one. Not with this gimmick. Like, we talk about what's heavyweight title worthy. That gimmick's not heavyweight title worthy. Sorry, it's just not. Could you imagine Evil as your IWGP heavyweight champion? Again, we talk about people. Not everyone can be the champion, and that's a good thing. As much as it pains people to admit that. That's a good thing. That title is not a hot potato at all. It's okay that Evil is not heavyweight championship material. That's fine. That's okay. Not with that. Could you picture that? Could you picture him as champion?
Not really. Like the gimmick is a little bit too campy for me to be taken seriously as IWGP heavyweight champion.
Right. Intercontinental
it wouldn't take much to change it. Like,
no.
Let's take Kenny Omega as the example, who was very cheesy in his junior thing, doing the chainsaw arm stubble shit that he did.
Right.
The spray. But just a slight tweak.
Yeah.
Not completely destroying the character. Just a little bit of modification in the gear and whatnot, the entrance. And I think that could be easily remedied.
Yes. Yeah, and I would agree with that. So, if those modifications were made, and trust me, if they see that potential in him of being that guy, those modifications would need to be made. But even then, gun to my head, I'm going to go with a no on Evil.
I think I'm going to go with a yes, because judging by the fact that last year when Okada was on this tear and this huge unbeatable run, that he was handpicked as being the first guy to pin Okada in a singles match, even though it was in the back end of a very grueling G1. I think there was something to read into that they decided to give him the tap on the shoulder and give him that rub to pin Okada. I'm going to take that as a sign for bigger things to come, because as you say, New Japan don't do things like this for nothing. So I think if Evil plays his cards right and works hard and keeps at it, then I'm going to say yes, he could be a future champion.
And he is young, right? Keep in mind, he is young. This is not an old timer, right? But let me ask you this: he's got to dig through he's got to climb a ladder that's got a lot of rungs on it, right? There's plenty of people right now in current New Japan that he would have to fight his way through to be one of those top guys, right? And that's a lot of people. And I think that those people are better suited to be champion. I mean, Okada, right? I mean, all right, let's do this. Given a choice, Okada as your champion, Evil as your champion.
Well, it depends when, doesn't it? If you're saying right now,
it does.
I'd say obviously Okada, because he is more of a proven draw.
Okay, and we don't know, what's going to happen.
Hit.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen here. But let's just say next 3 years, projection 3 years.
Does he win it within the next 3 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does Naito win it in the next 3 years?
Yes, I think he'll win it next year.
Okay, so you got 2 title changes in 3 years. And again, it all depends on if he signs or he doesn't, but Kenny Omega, do you think he loses and then maybe regains it? Let's just say he resigns. If he resigns.
No.
He does not win the title back.
No. I think at some point the lure of the money from Stamford, Connecticut is going to be too much for him.
Okay, I'm just saying that. Let's just say that New Japan ponies up. Uncle Harold writes the check, and away we go. He's sticking around for another 3 years. Kenny Omega holding the title. He'll probably drop it within those 3 years. Does he win it back in those 3 years?
No, I don't think.
No,
I don't think he needs it.
Oh, if he's signing a check, or if he's signing a contract and cashing a check, you know he's carrying that title for another run if he's losing it, right?
Yeah, if he loses it, I think if he re-signs, then I think he will beat Tanahashi at the Dome though, and keep it for most of next year.
Me too. All right, let me ask you this. Let's throw another name in there. How about? So we said Naito. We'll go through Bullet Club. Nobody else that really sticks out in my mind that would be that person. Chaos. We talked about Okada. Definitely not Goto. Who am I missing? Anybody else? Anybody I'm missing here? Ishii, no.
Sanada, Ibushi.
Okay, Ibushi is in 3 years. Is he IWGP Heavyweight Champion? And would you take him over Evil?
Again, it just depends on the commitment with Ibushi, doesn't it? Because it
does. Again,
very mercurial.
Yeah. Wow, that's a big word. Again, let's just assume that money being no object, and it's all about just would you or wouldn't you. Everybody's locked in. Everybody's locked in under contract. You taking Ibushi over Evil?
Yes, I think so.
Me too. All right, so there's 4. There's 4 title changes you got right there.
Well, no,
in a 3-year span.
I don't think Kenny is going to stay that long, and I don't think they would put the title on Ibushi. You're giving me hypotheticals here where everyone is signing these long-term contracts, and I think realistically that's not going to happen. And the reason I will say yes to you that they will put the title on Evil is because he's proven to be trustworthy and a company guy and very popular with the fans.
Okay, and I'll give you that he's young. He's just came back from
31.
excursion. 31. Oh, 31? Well, a little older than I thought, actually. All right, so then he's starting to be in his prime.
Sonada's 30, so he's actually a year older than Sonada.
Evil is a year older than Sonada.
Yeah. So Sonada was born January 28th, 1988, so he's 30, and Evil was born January 26th, 1987, so he's 31.
Ah, well, there's a fun fact. I think we blew a lot of people's minds on that one. Because to me, it feels like Sonada I've seen, in Wrestle 1, and, obviously his nonsense and Impact, and it just feels like he's been around a lot longer. Huh, okay. But yeah, I guess, between the Young Lions duties and he was away on Excursion Evil. Watanabe was away for what seems like forever on Excursion, which people talk about excursions and them doing well and them doing not well. Talk about Watanabe when he was on Excursion. It was not that was a he would show up on Ring of Honor shows.
He did nothing, didn't he?
He did nothing. He really didn't. He did nothing. Like I remember going to a show and it was Pro Wrestling Syndicate here in New Jersey. And he lived in Jersey. He lived in Jersey. And he would be on shows, and no one came up to him. No one. And I knew who he was from his Young Lion duty. I knew he was on Excursion, but no one. I mean, and then he would show up on like the Ring of Honor shows every so often. when it was, when they would bring in New Japan talent. But he wasn't like he was booked anywhere. It wasn't like he was all over the place. That was people talk about like, the guys in Mexico now and how they're struggling. Whew. Go back and watch. Watch. There's nothing to watch. There's Watanabe. The one match that really put him on the map, it felt like, is he had a match with Elgin in Chicago, I think it was, and that one blew the roof off the place, if I'm not mistaken. That was kind of like the beginning of him starting to get a little bit of a buzz. And then shortly thereafter, they brought him back. So, wow, I didn't know he was that old. All right, I still don't think he's IWGP heavyweight title worthy, but. Intercontinental is more than fine. I think he can carry that with pride and prestige.
So, how good is this card? So, let's compare it with last year. So, last year we had Roppongi 3K against Super 69 in the Super Junior Tag Tournament Finals. We had Suzuki versus Yano in infamous bull rope death match for the Never title. We had Skrull against Ospreay for the Junior title. We had Kenny versus Beretta for the US title. And we had Tanahashi versus Ibushi for the IC title. So this time we're getting the Super Junior Tag Finals. Taichi versus Ospreay if he's fit. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Naito, Evil versus Jericho, and Ishii versus Suzuki. At the time I'm speaking, I'm not sure what the main event is, because if I go to the website, the one that is physically on top of the page is actually Ishii against Suzuki, but I don't know if we can necessarily read into it that that's going to be the main event. But do you think this is a significantly stronger card than last year's Power Struggle? Oh, God, yeah. I think so, right?
And again, last year's Power Struggle had good matches, don't get me wrong. Tanahashi, Ibushi. The one thing that I unfortunately take away from that show is that bull rope match, is that Yano Suzuki fucking nonsense bull rope match. Give me the show again real quick. I'm sorry.
We had Kenny Omega against Beretta for the US title.
That wasn't bad. That was okay.
Against Will Ospreay for the Junior title.
That was good.
And then Roppongi 3K against Super 69 in the Super Junior Tag Tournament Finals.
I mean, come on. Yeah, I think this match. This show has a lot more juice, has a lot more excitement, has a lot more things that could lead to even better things down the road. And again, I know I'm harping on it, but this is a Jericho title defense, and I think that should be a fun match, and it should at least give us a nice title change that everybody's kind of clamoring for, or B, give us some interesting thing to tell a story for Naito and Jericho possibly at the Dome.
Okay, I'll move on then, touching on something that you mentioned earlier, which was the commentary situation, because I mentioned last time on a podcast there were rumours of Lanny Poffo being involved, and on the latest episode of the Genius Cast, Lanny Poffo responded.
I'm sorry. What? I'm sorry, Joel. What did you just say? The what?
The Genius Cast.
The Genius Cast. Oh, okay. All right. I wonder what the Genius Cast. I'm doing a podcast in my. I can't even think of a rhyme for podcast. All right, go on, please. My head exploded on that one. Go ahead, please.
I take it you're not a subscriber then. Lanny Poffo responded to a report from the Wrestling Observer which stated his name had come up in conversations as a possible replacement for Don Callis. Here's the quote. I'll tell you what I know. Michael Craven from New Japan. I met him September the 1st at All In. He asked me if I would be interested in holding the microphone as a colour commentator, and I responded, wow, that would be great. They bought me a ticket to Tokyo from Tampa, and I'm going to get on that plane to do my very best to be an asset and not a liability. New Japan is a very exciting group of people, and I feel very lucky to be invited. In the meantime, I'm retired, but I'd like to keep flexible and open for exciting opportunities like this.
What? Tell me you're kidding me. Tell me you're kidding me.
Right, this is all legit. Does the name Jim Herd ring a bell?
Yeah, it does. The former Pizza Hut guy who came in and decided he was going to get his feet wet in pro wrestling, and decided that. And remember RoboCop in WCW? Jim Herd. Look, I don't understand why of all the names. Listen, I don't know Lanny Poffo from Adam. So what, I'm sure he's a nice gentleman. I'm sure if the rumors are true, he's very flexible, if you know what I mean. Doesn't leave the house much. And I'm sure he's just a swell guy. Of all the names, Joel, that I could have fucking given you and reached into a hat and said, you know what, this might be a good person for color commentary. Lanny Poffo. How? What? Here's what really pisses me off. Not for nothing. I've been doing a fucking podcast for 3 years now, giving more promotion to this company than Lanny Poffo has done cartwheels and thrown frisbees. Well, I ain't getting a call.
But look, we don't know what the listenership of the Genius Cast is. Let's not start casting aspersions onto that.
I'll tell you what. I'll go head to head with that. Let's give our analytics numbers, and we'll compare it to the what is it? The Genius Cast. We'll go head to head with the numbers. How about that? And whoever wins can get the plane ticket. Who was deciding this again? Mike Carroll. Mike Carroll. I want a phone call from you. Michael Craven.
Michael Craven. Yes.
Michael Craven. Murray Craven, former Blackhawk and Philadelphia Flyer. Mike, I want to give me a call. Get on the horn and give me a call. We need to talk about this. Nonsense. Come on. What was I mean, how about a guy with some history or some New Japan give me a guy who's at least on a fucking Japanese tour, for crying out loud. I'm sure Lanny worked like IWA or some shit. Somebody's going to be like, he worked, whatever, some promotion in 1973. I'm flabbergasted at the notion that at the very least what is going to occur is that guy's going to get a free plane ticket to Tokyo. You know what I mean? Like that.
I'm already annoyed about that, to be honest. That's a waste of money.
That annoys me to no end. Like not for nothing. We should be going to Japan. They should be contacting us, giving us a plane ticket to Japan. I don't know. That is amazing to me. Listen, I'm maybe, and I don't know this to be true or not, but maybe. He has a personal relationship with Kevin Kelly. I don't know, and Kevin personally recommended. Doesn't sound like that was the conversation. It sounded like this was I know Lanny Poffo from watching my wrestling days, and I'm gonna what? This is great. This is a fucking madness. Is what this is. Does anybody seriously? I'm trying to keep this a positive podcast. Joel, you're not helping in any way. But is there anyone, and not some, sarcastic, kind of contrarian, how everyone loves to do that. There's no one that's going to be like, I really think it's a good idea that Lanny Poffo shows up. No one's saying that. No one is saying that. I can't believe again, I don't even care if Lanny Poffo shows up. I'm pissed off that he's getting a free ticket to fucking Tokyo, and I'm sitting at home. Duh. Seriously. Joel.
Look, far be it from me to be the defender of Lanny Poffo, but he might be amazing at commentary. I've never heard him commentate.
Exactly.
So
if he was that great. If he was that great.
Before he's even picked up the microphone.
Okay, if he was that great, wouldn't you think he would be at least in conversations, right? All right, let's put it this way: when a football coach gets fired, Joel, in the Premier League, let's get something that you can relate with here. When they get canned, right, and the rumor mill swirls, right, and everybody's talking about potential head coaches. Aren't there certain names that always usually get brought up that are sitting at home not doing anything? Right? You always hear kind of the same sort of names that are in that mix. Give me one example of when Lanny Poffo was ever mentioned for any commentary job.
Well, look, sticking with your Premier League example, back in 1996, I'm a big Arsenal fan, when we sacked our manager, Bruce Rioch, and we were without a manager for a while, there were a few famous names popping up, but the manager that we appointed in the end, Arsene Wenger, was an absolute nobody. And I think at the time he was managing Nagoya Grampus 8 in Japan.
Okay.
No one had ever heard of this guy, and he turned out to be probably the greatest manager we ever had. So,
okay. But he managed...
Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, but it wasn't like he was working on an assembly line, right? He managed a team, right? He was just, he's involved in the sport. Give me something I could sink my teeth into to kind of evaluate besides the Genius Cast. Something that where he expresses any type of knowledge about Japanese pro wrestling in any promotion. Help me find that.
Well, I guess that's going to be our homework, David. We have to go back and listen to every previous Genius Cast to see what his knowledge of Japanese pro wrestling is like.
Watch it be such a fucking awesome. Watch us come back and be like, you know what, fucking Genius Cast rules. right? Be like, oh, this is the greatest podcast ever. Fucking blows us away. Look, again, I'm not knocking the Genius
Next week,
Cast.
Super J-Cast. We've managed to get an interview with Lanny Poffo. We're so excited.
Yeah, right, we'll have Lanny on. Again, I'm not knocking Lanny Poffo. I mean, again, he seems like
well, you are.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that he's not qualified for this. That's what I'm saying, and I don't think that's a stretch. All right, and I did knock a little bit of the Genius Cast, but maybe it's great. I've never listened. I'm not knocking that. Come on, I'm sure he's doing great with that.
Well, we've spent a lot longer talking about Lanny Poffo than I thought we would.
It annoys me. I'm not going to lie. It annoys me a little bit. But, okay, whatever.
Listeners, I apologize. I'm not deliberately trying to antagonize Damon today.
It really feels like
I thought this was going to be a positive show, and I thought that was just going to be a little throwaway thing, and we'd all have a chuckle. We'd be like, oh, Lanny Poffo, can you imagine? Next point.
No, it annoys me.
I've opened a can of worms here.
Yeah, it really is a splinter in my mind right now. It really is. And I woke up. I was like Damon from Fast Times. I woke up in a good mood, and I don't know what happened. Fuck me. All right. Well, look. I mean, I don't know. It really does annoy me, though. All right, let's move on because it does annoy me. All right, let's go.
Okay, this is something which is good, and I hope you'll be excited about. Wrestling All-Star Battle, featuring Big Japan, Wrestle One, New Japan, All Japan, and Noah, will be held in February 2019 at Sumo Hall. The event will be held to commemorate the 20-year anniversary of Giant Barba's death in January 1999, and the founding of Tokyo Sports in 1979, and 40 years since Giant Barba and Antonio Inoki tagged for the final time. There's rumours this might be bankrolled by Tokyo Sports. Apparently, Liam on the Discord posted that it's 20,000 yen for ringside tickets, and apparently if you pay that you get to give Abdullah a bouquet of flowers for his ceremony. This kind of crossover last happened in 2012 to raise money for Sendai, and the card was all multi-man tag matches with cross-promotional faces against heels. And actually that was the first time I think that Sanada and Naito were teaming up, and obviously they're in different promotions then. So are you expecting more of the same here?
I hope so. I mean, I think a lot of people remember back with the tragedies of the earthquake, and they had the fundraising show. I forget what it was called. Altogether, I think it was. Altogether, I think that's what the name of it. Again, I'm not expecting singles matches, and that's fine. It'll probably be a lot of tags and multi-man tags, but they're always fun shows. I always like those cross-promotional shows. I really do. I always think they're fun in any form. I know Tokyo Dome used to have them every once in a while, where the magazines would kind of put up the show and kind of make it a gigantic super show. And I know there was a lot of politicking involved on those shows. And again, if you go back and read Chris Charlton's book, he touches on those when it comes to those dome shows. It's really interesting how influential those weekly publications were, and who they decided to put on the cover and who they didn't, and how that worked, and the money that went underneath the table. Really good read. I mean, just for that alone, pick up Chris's book. It's really awesome. No, I think I love them. Expensive seats, but and what you get to give flowers to Abdul. I have an Abdul the Butcher story. Do you want an Abdul the Butcher story?
Here's a story from Uncle Damon. Here's a story from some point in his life. Here's a story from Uncle Damon, and it may be about wrestling or perhaps include his wife.
Okay, so back in the day when I used to do the stuff, the pro wrestling stuff, he was on a show. He was actually on many shows. We were on like the NWA. I want to say it was the 50th anniversary show or the 40th anniversary show. It was in Charlotte. We drove down from New Jersey down to Charlotte and worked. Twiggy worked the show and I managed, and it was like a junior. I think it was for the junior title we wrestled for. Did not win, unfortunately. And Abdul's on the show, and he has the thing where he puts the blade in his fingertips. So when he chops, he's slicing and dicing people. So he had a bunch of like local guys, and even some like a guy who drove down Biggie Biggs, from a local guy from up here. He came down, and he was either going to be one of those guys or not, but he never wound up doing it because he's like, I'm going to get sliced open for, for little pennies. And like, I don't know. And he had a little bit of a reputation of being a little bit careless with those blades, right? And then I just remember him coming back to the dressing room and just bleeding everywhere, and everybody's like, ugh. So anyhow, we're on a show, and they needed somebody to manage him. So local person, Amy Lee, goes up and well, Madonna can do it. And so I was like, all right, cool. And I'm looking at Twiggy like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking manage Abdul the Butcher, right? It is crazy. But then I'm thinking, oh my God, he does have a little bit of a reputation. So I go up and I introduce myself and, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I'm like, whatever you want to do, he's like, okay, well, it was him against Manny Fernandez. So it's me, fucking dopey me, managing Abdul the Butcher against Manny Fernandez. So they're working out the match, and I'm supposed to like yell at Manny Fernandez before the match, just like get in his face and be like, yeah, I got Abdul the Butcher, he's badass, he's going to kill you, blah, blah, blah. And then Manny's supposed to give me a punch and then another punch, and then Abdul is supposed to go in. But I'm thinking, if Manny Fernandez hits me, I'm taking a bump. First punch, I'm just taking a bump. Because he's Manny fucking Fernandez, right? And I'm just schmoey me. So we get in a ring. Oh, so before that, he's working out, and Abdul was like, how he talks in that high pitched, hi brother, do you bleed? He's basically asking me, and I was in fucking sales at the time, right? I was like, there's no way I can go like to a client and be like, yeah, bandage up, had a rough weekend. So I was like, no. But I was afraid that he was going to do it anyway, right? So during the match, well, first of all, I get in, we'll give Manny Fernandez, and then Manny Fernandez whacks me, and I go down. I instantly go down, right? But then here comes Abdul, but then they brawl. So wherever they were brawling, I was on the absolute opposite side of the ring because I didn't want to get near Abdul the Butcher because I was afraid he was going to fucking blade me. So I would go from one side, and my friends are there, and they're just laughing at me because they know what I'm doing. They're like, I know he's not getting 2 feet of these people so I would spend time like yelling at the ref inside the ring while they're brawling in the crowd. I would just stay so far away, and I go back in the locker room, and they're like, Manny was like, why'd you go down? You're supposed to go down the second one. I was like, look, you're Manny Fernandez. I'm just fucking jerk off me. You could kick my ass. 1 punch is all it takes. And he looked at me, and he taps me on the shoulder, and he goes, oh, all right, brother. I appreciate that, brother. I just never forget that. I outworked Manny Fernandez, and I ran away from Abdul the Butcher. Okay, there's story time with Damon.
All right, so I guess you're not going to be forking over 200,000 yen. You're still terrified of him.
Yeah, he is one of those people that I don't care.
He might recognize you and be like, "Hey, it's that guy," and try and slash you open.
Right, I'm going to get you eventually, you prick. Yeah, no, he is one of those guys that I don't know. Just I'm not keen on Abdul. I just don't fucking trust. He's just a scary dude. I don't know why. He's just a frightening fucking dude. And I don't know. I just one of those dudes. I just stay away from. No doubt.
All right. Well, let's get back to this show then. So I just wanted to ask. Obviously, there's a lot of history between New Japan and Noah and the feud that they had. As far as you know, is that still a thing? Do they still hate each other?
I know. I mean, they had the kind of pseudo, somewhat business dealing that they had maybe about 2 years ago, right? I don't know if they hate each other. I just think that they decide not to work with each other, right? And then, if it's... Here's the thing. Noah's kind of I don't want to say they're rebounding, but they're rebounding a little bit, right? I see attendance figures growing, and I hear feedback on shows, and it feels like that they're at least getting a little bit of momentum going. So maybe they don't necessarily need or want New Japan's involvement at this point. So I'm sure financially they could use, if money's being pumped in, but I don't know if they were 100% happy with how that turned out. I mean, if you remember back, it was Suzuki-gun just going in there and just running roughshod all over everybody for like a year. If you're a Noah fan and, you're rooting for Noah people and, they're just getting obliterated, that's a word I just made up, by, at the time, let's be honest here, Suzuki-gun were, they were B-level in New Japan, and they're just blowing by Noah people. I'd be a little pissed off too. So, I don't know. Maybe they didn't feel like it was worth the hassle. Even though money might have been pumped in. But again, seems like they're rebounding, so fingers crossed for Noah. Hope so.
Okay, so it's most likely we're going to get a lot of multi-man tag matches. But William asked, do you think Kento Miyahara against Kazuchika Okada should be the main event for the Super Show? Obviously, pump the brakes there. It's not happening. But I wanted to ask you, Damon, what dream matches would you like to see if you were handed the book for this kind of show?
Fuck, that's one of them, right? That'd be one of them. I'd like to see like a Joe Doring, maybe against like an Ishii. That'd be fun, right? I think everybody could get around that. How about Hideki Suzuki? Who would I like to see him with?
Takeda, a death match. Who do you think would be fun in a death match with Takeda?
Does it have to be a New Japan guy?
Yeah.
Taichi. That's what I want to see. I want to see Taichi in the death match. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't really think a lot about interpromotional matches because I just don't think they're going to happen. But Miyahara and Okada would be. Christ, how great would that match be? Fucking A. That would blow the doors off the place. I tell you what, I'd refi the house to fucking go see that if that happened. That would be incredible.
Give me Shuji Ishikawa against Tomohiro Ishii.
That's not bad. I think that happened. I want to say that happened before Ishii became. I could be wrong. It doesn't seem like the timelines match up. I could be wrong. That's a good match, though. I would definitely do that.
Okay, moving on to the next topic then about animated GIF. Do you say GIF or GIF?
I'm a GIF.
The acronym
I'm a
is
GIF.
graphics interface format.
Right. I believe you taught me
Apparently,
that.
the person who made them says that it's GIF, but I think he doesn't get to decide that because graphics is a hard G, so it's a GIF, isn't it?
I'm a GIF guy.
Anyway,
yes.
Mr. Lariato, who does a lot of these animated GIF files, says New Japan has started copyright claiming for GIFs now. They got a handful of claims from a recent show, and Bullet Club Itao's account was suspended. He's actually got a new account at Bullet Club Ita. I asked Rich Craich about this. He said we were told the GIF thing has been resolved and to look for an official word soon, so we're still waiting on that. But Evan Deadly Sins did send a message to the New Japan Global account, and I'll read you what he said, and I want your take on it. Again, it's not my place to tell New Japan what to do, but I really think it's a bad idea to be taking down Twitter accounts that make GIFs of the shows. The type of people who watch New Japan through GIFs only won't subscribe to New Japan World if you take them down. They'll just stop watching completely. So letting people make GIFs only helps spread awareness of the product, and attacking these accounts will only hurt New Japan's ability to gain new fans. Many New Japan fans share this viewpoint. Please consider it. So what do you think on this issue?
I agree. Right? I mean, especially in this day and age. I know it's hard, especially when it's your thing, when you see it pirated or or gift. I mean, here's the thing. I don't think making a GIF is the same thing as uploading a torrent. Right? They're two completely fucking separate things. I just think that that's the kind of thing that helps promote brand awareness to people that, that aren't putting down any money, and quite possibly somebody sees one of those things and maybe they subscribe for that month. I think it does. It does more good than harm, right? You're not losing money that you don't have, right? It's not like those people are subscribing that you're losing money out on. You can only gain from situations like that. No one's and here's another thing too. Nobody's watching an entire match. It's you're not giving it away. You're giving away tiny little clips of. I don't know, but again, if I'm sticking my feet in their shoes, it's like, well, we own this, and we don't want it everywhere. We don't want it, but actually, you really do. You do want that. It's hard to avoid, number one, right? Now, if you're a popular Twitter account like Lariato is, and that the word gets spread around quickly when you have that many followers, but you're not going to stop it. Number one, you'll be chasing your tail forever. But number two, again, I just think the positive benefits that come of that is far outweighs anything that you think that you're losing, because you're really not. You're actually gaining when it comes to that kind of stuff. And also, Joel, just to kind of jump in on that, it's not like these people like a Lariato. It's not like he doesn't. He's giving you cool spots of the match, but it's not like he's giving away finishes.
It's a bit like trying to fight the Hydra, isn't it? You cut off one head and then two of them pop up.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And again, it's not like they're giving away the meat of a match. They're giving away like the cool moments of a match. It's not like it's like, if you go down his timeline, everything is kind of mapped out where it's like it's the entire match that you see. That's not what he's doing. He's helping you people. He's helping every one of you promotions. He's helping you. Banning those accounts or giving those shutdown notices, that does more harm than good.
Okay, next up, I saw username Kokada on Reddit translated an interview with Minoru Suzuki on Yahoo Japan. Suzuki said, "The matches are great and we have the best of the best in terms of wrestlers. Being acquired by Bushiroad also gave us new reach. They have put a lot of investment into us and the advertising. So what do we lack? I know exactly what. Stars in their 20s. New Japan now is all thanks to Okada appearing then. In this world, if stars in their 20s don't appear, the industry is unable to move forward. I started Pancrest when I was 25. I was in UWF in my 20s. The original Tiger Mask was wrestling in his 20s. The Three Musketeers, all big stars in their 20s. So do you think he's got a point? Is there a lack of New Japan stars in their 20s?
Two sides of the coin to this. So one being, I would agree, because, again, if you can capture a younger audience, that younger audience grows with you. And, one of the biggest challenges that a lot of wrestling promotions have, especially right now, is that the demographics are all out of skew. It's not a younger audience that's watching their television broadcast. It's a middle age. It's me. It's people like me. Always having that younger demographic will help, and having younger stars will help that as well, because people want people that they can relate to. Of course, every generation has that, and again, that's just a cycle of life. So I agree with that 100%. Now, the flip side of that is that really a pro wrestler, and I think that the average age that people kind of tend to point at is 30s. That's when they're at their peak, right? So 20s, they're still developing, and they're still maturing, and they're still becoming a pro wrestler as opposed to a guy who wrestles. So that's easier said than done, making a star in their 20s when they don't fall off of trees. Right? Now, the dojo is a perfect breeding ground for that, right? But are you ready to rush any one of the young lions right now into that position? I'm not. Right? I don't think that there's anybody that you would want to do that to. So while I agree with the theory and the idea of that, and I think it is important. Again, they don't fall off of trees. You're not picking one off like an apple. So that should be a goal, but I wouldn't want to put somebody in a position that they're not ready for, because more harm could be from that than good.
Yeah, I think the days of someone like, was it Okada 24 when he came along and won the title for the first time? Have I got that right?
You know what? I'm going to say 25 or 26, but you might be right, 24. Sure. 20s anyway.
Yeah, so it seems unlikely that someone of that age is going to appear and win the title that early in recent years. Yeah,
I think that, I mean, again, I agree with the theory of making those 20-year-old stars, and but think about this: the names that he mentioned, right? Okay, yes, they went on to be successful. How about the names that didn't? Right, and I'm sure that there are plenty of those, right, where the company or a company decided to hang their hat on a bright, shining 20 something year old star, and it shit the bed, right? So again, it's those are the people that you don't hear about, but maybe again, I agree with the theory, but it doesn't. The practice of it is very difficult to do.
Okay, I would say Jay White is only 26, so he could be someone who's adding his name to that list of young champions sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I'm thinking when I think of 20s, unfortunately, maybe I'm thinking of the younger side of that arc, right? So when you get into the 26, 27, 28, so I mean, you're hoping that they're taking those next levels. Jay White's a perfect example of that, but when I'm thinking of what Suzuki's talking about, I'm thinking of, I guess, maybe the younger side of 20. And those people definitely need time to develop. But I guess, if you're reaching 27, 28, 29, you're close to that wheelhouse. So, and physically probably at your peak. So maybe it is a little bit easier said than done. So, all right. Listen, I'm in on his theory. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Next thing is at Corpse Captain, who does a lot of great translation work, says Hiromu added a new diary entry, and in it he says his recovery progress is at 83%, and there are 44 days until Happy Day, and he's gained a lot of muscle during his time away. So, two things here. One, what do you think this 44 days until Happy Day is? And two, do you think we're going to see him at heavyweight anytime soon?
I don't think heavyweight. I don't think that. I think we have a ways to go there, right? I'm doing something real quick. I'm just typing days until Wrestle Kingdom. No, days until January 4. January 4. I'm typing. Right. Let's see here. Let's see what Google says. 74 days. Oh. So we got a little ways to go. So what would be 40-something days, Joel? Maybe he's done rehab. Maybe he's... Well, I'm trying to think of what show might be around the corner then. It's World Tag League at that point, right?
I think it would be the middle of World Tag League. So I don't think that there's a specific show that the 44 days thing aligns to. I mean, my guess was that was when he was going to be getting back into the ring, maybe just training, rather than being a big show comeback or whatever.
Right. I mean, it's positive, right? That there's something positive, because, again, I know that he's had a few setbacks, and the recovery, unfortunately, has taken longer than we had hoped, and the injury was maybe a little bit more severe than we had thought. Although at the time, they were talking about broken necks and stuff like that, and never getting back in the ring. So it's positive. I'll take 44 days. Look, if somebody told me, a month ago that he'll be back in 60 days or at least training in 60 days, I take that as a positive. Now, with that being said, I don't know if necessarily you're getting the Hiromu of old, right? And the risk taking and the balls to the wall style. I wouldn't want to see him come back quickly. Like unfortunately, I feel like Honma had done. And again, Shibata is Shibata, but there's always that rumble of him coming back, and it's like, okay, 44 days. Listen, let's circle it on our calendar and see what happens. At the very least, it's a positive step. So if 44 days is just him in the ring for the first time, so be it. That's a positive step.
And the same Twitter post also added that Teruaki Kanemitsu says he'll be back soon. So he was a young lion who suffered a spinal injury in November 2016 and has recently begun working at the Fale Dojo. So do you have any strong memories of Kanemitsu? Is that something that will excite you, seeing him back in action?
I mean, aside from the fact that he's able to get back in the ring from a severe injury, again, a positive. I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest here and say no. It's not like it's not Hiromu, right? And at that stage of his development, to take that long of time off, especially for a spinal injury. You go back to like Hanare and the time that he took off, and while he came back, refreshed and revigorated, I'm sure that the time on the shelf didn't help any. And again, that was a leg injury. This is a spine injury. I always get fucking a little squeamish when it comes to that, when it comes to the spine stuff and head stuff. Like, legs, limbs, you can come back from that. But when you get into that other stuff, just, I don't know. It does trouble me a little bit. So, good. Listen, if he's coming back, great. Let's hope the best for him.
Okay, one more thing I wanted to pick your brains on before we move on to the Super Junior Tag League. What do you make of Nick Aldis winning the NWA title back from Cody? And does that... I've seen a few people like Nicole on Discord was scratching her head about why it was Ibushi that took the pinfall in the King of Pro Wrestling main event. If there was anything to it, like, we've got to protect the NWA champion, or do you think that's just a total non-issue and you are nonplussed about Cody losing that belt?
Yeah, I think I said it before. I don't think anybody was sitting from New Japan saying, "Oh, we got to protect that NWA title" because of how prestigious it's been in the past 20 years. So it is odd to me that Ibushi did take that fall, but he did, and I can't necessarily agree with that. I'm curious as to, like, so Cody had his moment of winning the NWA title, and let's be truthful, it was a moment at All In, and it was a really kind of a special thing in how they made it. They did everything really well with that. Less than 2 months later, this is where we are, right? What was the purpose of all this? Help me understand what. I mean, to me, it sounds like we need to get the title off of Cody, right? It just seems like a lot of things going on with that elite thing, where we're not going to do any more Bullet Club T-shirts. This is our last Bullet Club design. We're not going to work World Tag League. We're going to drop the tag titles. I'm going to win the NWA title on my big All-In show that I invested a lot of time and effort in and money in. But then on a random show, that kind of, I don't want to say flew under the radar, but it was definitely more under the radar than the All-In show. We'll drop it back real quick. I want to ask you, what is your feeling of all that? All this mounting evidence, and again, the reports that were coming in of people unhappy within the promotion and people leaking things to Meltzer and all this stuff. What is your take as we sit here in mid-October? What is your feeling with all the circumstances that's going down with these guys?
They're just very good businessmen. I still think the whole thing is a bit of a work, that they're just trying to leverage as much power as they can get going into the contract negotiations, so they can get a few extra digits on whatever they're signing.
Do you think does that tend to push you? And I think you let your cards be shown earlier. Do you think that pushes the percentages of them leaving higher?
I don't think they are going to leave immediately. I think they're going to stick around one more contract extension, and then after that, they will be off.
Okay. Stock's never been higher. You think the stock can get higher? You think they can make more money if they waited a year or two?
Yes, I do.
Well, okay. I'm under the feeling that this is it. They're done. They're moving on. They're not going to make any more. They're not going to get a bigger offer than the one that they're going to get in front of them here. I just, and again, I don't have anything concrete. Nobody does. And if anybody thinks that they do, they're just speculating beyond speculating. No one knows except those people of what they feel in their heart and in their mind. Damon, gun to the head, knife to the throat. Oh, they're gone. They're leaving.
There was a really interesting message on our Discord that I'm just going to read now because it resonated with my own personal feelings on this. It was Ben who said, just listen to the bit on the Elite potentially leaving from the latest pod. As an Arsenal fan, I guess you must recognise why this stuff coming up every year with their contracts gets grating. Vieira flirting with Real Madrid for about 4 seasons in a row, or Cesc with Barcelona. And it goes on for so long that even though they're your best players, by the end you're just like, you know what, fuck off. So I think that's where I am at the moment, and Arsenal fans will know what I'm talking about here because over the last 10 years, it's every single summer, our star player, whoever it is, has just been constantly rumours circulating about them leaving to a big club, and it just happens so often that eventually you just get sick of it, and you know that they're brilliant players, and your team would be better off keeping them, but you're just so sick of all the rumours that you just want them to leave.
Yeah,
I think that might be where I am with this situation at the moment.
I see it every day in
to
sports.
stay, but if they, I just don't want to hear it anymore. I'm sick of it.
I know. So my favorite team, Toronto Maple Leafs, they have, I would say a star player that's holding out contract, and he's right now in Austria skating, and while the team is playing, and every day you just hear it, and like at this point, I just don't even want to fucking hear about it anymore. Just deal with the players you fucking got right now, and then if he goes, he goes. If he, whatever happens. But yeah, I hear it every day in sports, every fucking day, and that's one of the things that we talked about earlier, where there was a time period where I was just so disenfranchised with it. I was just like, whatever. And that's part of it, is that feeling of, you'll never. You groom these people with the assumption that they're going to wear your sweater or jersey or kit or whatever, and that's not the truth. It's that they chase the money, and there you go. So there you go. There's our sports hot takes for the day.
Okay, let's move on to the Super Junior Tag League. Finally, what are your thoughts so far on this competition?
See, I talked to you a little bit earlier about this before as well. I like what I've seen so far. I don't think that there's anything that has blown me away. I don't think that there's anything that we're going to talk about with Match of the Year come our award season, which is right around the corner, by the way. That being said, I thoroughly enjoy the way that these matches are presented, the easy-to-digest method in which they are, the lack of commentary, the simplicity of it. And here's the thing: the matches are good. They're not great. They're good. There's nothing where I've turned it off and been like, it fucking sucked. That was a waste of time. No, not at all. And again, there is something comforting about the way that they present this. It's not the whole show. It's not like it's a Road 2 show where you're getting every undercard and you're just kind of like, all right, let me sit through this shit. Right? It's here are the matches. Here's what you need to see. The tag matches, and again, 15 minutes, good solid matches, good solid action, and they're only going to get better. Nothing to hand wave. Everything's been good. Nothing great, but solid, and it's been an easy ride so far.
Yeah, I like having these little, 13-minute matches with no commentary, single cam, while I'm sitting there eating my cereal in the morning, waiting to go to school. It's a nice, easy watch, and I can let my mind wander as I'm enjoying these shows. And like you said, there's nothing been great, but nothing's been bad either. I think a couple of matches I think have sort of pushed towards the 4 stars territory, but there haven't been any that I thought were a waste of my time. So again, this is another instance where the juniors are put on centre stage to shine. Although, having said that, they're not actually main eventing every show, because in the previous 2 shows, the Saturday and Friday show, we've had Chaos versus Bullet Club multi-man tag matches main eventing. Right. But quite a few talking points coming out of this. One that I saw today when I was watching the post-match interview. So talk a bit about Jay White, we mentioned earlier. He got his own entrance on the opening night. Obviously, he's a guy in the middle of a mega push. Now, he said in his interview that he has someone working for him inside Chaos Have you got any thoughts on who that could be? Because I was just looking at the power struggle cards, and he's tagging with Farley against Okada and Beretta. So I was wondering if it might be Beretta, which works by way of nominative determinism, if nothing else, because obviously Beretta is named after a gun, and they are the Bullet Club. We could end up getting a Jay White and Beretta team in the World Tag League, because I thought otherwise you're going to get Jay White and Farley in the World Tag League, but you need a pin eater in that team, and neither of those guys are taking the pin, unless they're going to go in the DQ route. And then that would also move some pieces around. We could get a team of Chucky T and Yano. We could get Goto and Ishii teaming up. So I know you're a bit sick of all the betrayals and the faction wars and all that, but have you got any thoughts on Jay White saying he's got a mole inside Chaos?
Beretta probably would be the odds-on favorite, I would think. I mean, I don't think it would be like an Ishii, right? That would be pretty wild if you think about it, but I don't think that would be the case. Yeah, you know what? If you're looking for odds-on favorite, Beretta might be that guy. That makes sense. Yeah, you know what? You think about it. He does need a pin eater, right? And usually that role went to Chase, right? And speaking of Chase, here's one guy you haven't heard from. What's Yujiro doing? What's Takahashi doing? Where is he? Is he elite?
Was saying in one of the backstage comment things that he wants to team up with Ibushi.
Okay, so he's elite. Would he be an elite member at this point?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't 100% sure. I know we saw the flow chart earlier that went around on the internet, and I love my visualization of data. Yes, okay, just making sure there. So yeah, I mean, Bullet Club does need a pin eater, and I don't think it's going to be any one of the. Well, maybe Gato could be a pin eater too, right? I mean, even though they're technically aren't they considered not necessarily juniors?
Yeah. But he's not heavyweight, is he?
I don't think either. I don't think either of them are counted as heavyweights. I don't believe. Feels like that the line is beginning to blur.
I would still consider Jado and Gato both juniors, so I don't think they'll be wrestling in the World Tag League.
All right, so let's if there is a seed to be planted, let's say it's Beretta then. All right.
Let's circle back to last Tuesday when we had the opening show at Korakuen Hall for this Road to Power Struggle. And we had a really fantastic opening match between Ren Narita, Shota Umino, and Toa Henare on one team, taking on a team of Yuya Uemura, Yota Tsuji, and Ayato Yoshida. And people have been raving about this match. Yeah. Did you catch it, Damon?
I did like it a lot. I actually saw some comments, and somebody had said to me, "I'm more interested in the ongoings of what's going on with the those guys than it is the top of the card." Suzuki talking about making stars. I mean, you might be able to cherry pick from some of these guys, right? Fun opener, fun, high paced. I don't know. I mean. Would you dip your toes into that? Would you make any one of those guys a main event star in the next 2 years?
Yeah, the two that are jumping off the page for me are Yoshida and Umino, and they have been positioned against each other in these matches, which is not a coincidence. A lot of people have spoken about this before, so I think that could be easily an IWGP heavyweight title feud somewhere down the line, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever.
Right.
I would not be surprised to see Yoshida against Umino challenging for that belt. What I did think was interesting, actually, is that I previously said that I didn't think Yoshida was a young lion because he seemed to be positioned a step above them. But he was on ringside duty with the rest of the young lions. So he seems to be in this sort of weird halfway house between the two groups. But I definitely think those were the two that you could hang your hat on. But the others all impressed me as well. I was really impressed with Yota Tsuji, who really still reminds me of one of the characters from one of my favourite films, Bloodsport. There's the big sumo guy called Pumola, and Tsuji just really reminds me of him. So I think he should lean into that and adopt that kind of gimmick. But he showed a lot of fire, a lot of charisma in that. Uemura looked good, and it's a really fantastic match. Very, very exciting times for the Young Lions.
Absolutely. I mean, I hate to not have anything more to add, but I think you hit all the points. When here's the thing, when you're more excited for the Young Lions than anything else on the show, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it speaks greatly to the future of the product, but I don't know if it necessarily says anything about the show you're going to be currently watching. But again, it was a great way to start, and I wish I could see them every show, like that match every show.
One thing I did forget to mention when we were talking about Beretta is that on commentary he was challenging Cody. Mm-hmm. So it looks like at some point we were going to be getting Cody defending the title against Beretta, and I don't know how that would fit into my hypothesis that he is Jay White's secret agent working within Chaos. I guess it still fits. He can still challenge Cody for that, and Bullet Club can feud with the Elite, but that might be something coming up soon. Is that a matchup that interests you?
No. And here's the thing, Joel. Don't let logic get in the way of a good story. All right. Don't. I'm still going with Beretta being the mole in Chaos. So let's stick with that. Come on.
Okay. So let's talk more about the tag league itself. Then we'll discuss each team so far. Okay. And before we do that, actually, any matches stood out for you so far? I would say the best one was probably that main event on night one with LIJ against Roppongi 3K. What about yourself? Any matches that you think have been particularly outstanding?
I like that. I liked, what did I watch? Was it Shingo and Bushi against Liger and Tiger Mask? I actually enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty decent. What did I say? I saw Robbie Eagles and Ishimori. I think they look really good. I think those are... Did we pick winners yet? Because... I mean, the way I kind of see it is, it's between Ishimori and Eagles and Shingo and Bushi were going to be my picks. Now, I know that you were leaning a little bit more toward Roppongi 3K, right?
Yeah, I think I'm still sticking with them. Just the way that the matches have played out and the tiebreaker situations and the fact that we had Roppongi 3K losing the opening main event to LIJ just made me think, well, that's the match that's going to be the final. Right. Just having them spaced out like that. And yeah. They weren't... I don't think they would have Roppongi 3K losing twice.
I think you're right. I think this is Roppongi's tournament to win. They'll be back-to-back winners, you know. They're going to do back-to-back winners?
Yeah, definitely, because... well, let's talk about Shonyo. They're sitting pretty with 4 points at the moment. To me, they just look like absolute stars. The way that they're closing these shows, the crowd seem to love them. I just think that this is their chance to be reignited and put that spark back in them after a fairly uninspiring 2018 as far as the booking goes. They haven't exactly covered themselves in glory. They haven't had many wins to speak of, and I think this is a great chance to put them back on centre stage, get them on Wrestle Kingdom, and then on Wrestle Kingdom they can finally win the belts, because obviously they didn't win at Wrestle Kingdom last year, so I think you really want to strap the rocket to these guys. They need a signature Wrestle Kingdom win to get them back off the ground.
I agree. And kind of looking at it, you figure you're pigeonholing in a good way. You're pigeonholing either Shingo or Ishimori for that junior heavyweight championship match, right? One of those two. Gun to your head, as I like to say, which one of those two is junior heavyweight title match?
I'm sticking more. I think Kushida against Ishimori would be the match I'll go for.
Okay. All right, and you're thinking LIJ 6-man tag?
Yeah, see, this is tricky because I don't know where Evil and Sanada and Bushi and Shingo fit into Wrestle Kingdom at this moment. But just the way that things panned out, prior to the junior tag tournament starting, I thought there was a decent chance that Bushi and Shingo would be winning the tournament and going on to the finals at Wrestle Kingdom. But just the fact that they won that opening main event took that off the table for me. Right. So I don't know where they fit in at Wrestle Kingdom, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the only thing that worries me. Like that, you instantly give them something to do, right out of gate. Unless, of course, again, they do the infamous triple threat junior tag title match to open the show, which they have a history of doing. So would not be surprised to see that as well. But you figure, and again, I think Robbie Eagles has done a really excellent job in this tag team. I've actually enjoyed watching him. But with that being said, they usually don't, like when they bring people in like this, they usually don't just sign them and then he's with the roster for the rest of the time. They usually bring him back and forth and so forth. So there's a little bit, I don't want to say a vetting process that goes on, but I don't know if that's where I kind of question the fact that where Ishimori and Eagles would win the tournament. And that's why I'm kind of leaning against them winning the tournament. So yeah, to me, it's a 2-team race, Roppongi 3K, Shingo and Bushi, and right now I'm leaning more toward Roppongi 3K.
The only thing I dislike about Roppongi 3K is their finisher, because I think it looks a bit rubbish. It's like a sort of flapjack gone a bit wrong. So I think they could do with a better finisher. But I was seeing some other stuff on the With Spandex podcast. One of their recent episodes, they had a really good interview with Rocky Romero. He had a really funny story about Inoki using Mr. Miyagi healing tactics on a dislocated shoulder, and some really interesting stuff about how Rocky ended up working with Roppongi 3K, helping them with their gimmick, how he came up with the idea of the silver guy and the gold guy and their debut, and how exciting it was, and the crowd just going absolutely wild when they saw that it was Sho coming out. So that's definitely worth checking out if you're interested in that. And they, like I said, I think they're looking like stars at the moment. What are your thoughts on Bushi and Shingo Takagi so far, who have also got 4 points?
Good. I was reading somewhere where he was actually nervous when he was introduced as LIJ's member, which I thought was kind of weird given his time in the ring and his experience and kind of where he's been. But I mean, it is a big spotlight. I guess he didn't want to fuck it up, and he's been good so far. I also, somebody shared with me a fact that that was really the first time in maybe one other time that Shingo and Liger were in the same ring together wrestling. I thought that was pretty odd given the histories of both guys. And the fact that Liger is a little bit more, he's able to take other bookings and he's wrestled for other promotions and outside of just New Japan, even within Japan. So I thought that was kind of weird and kind of cool at the same time. I like that tag team. I like him in the mix. I think he's a good fit in LIJ. I think I don't think you could just stick anybody in that role. I think he fits pretty well within that group. It doesn't feel awkward, and it doesn't feel like it's shoehorned in. I feel like it's a good fit.
Yeah, I agree. And I just also like his style of wrestling as a counterpoint to Bushi, who's a bit more slow and methodical. Just having Shingo there as the power guy. Like that opening match against Roppongi 3K, and there was just a little sequence where he just dropped flat on his head and then pulled him up to his feet and then just clotheslined the shit out of him, which was just awesome. And the crowd seemed to love him. Like Karakuman were eating it up, and he was just working the crowd brilliantly. So he, again, it's early days, but he also looks like a star right off the bat to me.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like everybody knows and is familiar with him. And again, we talked a few times about how it doesn't feel like there's a lot of cross-pollination when it comes to fandom. You have your Noah fans, you have your New Japan fans, but you still have your general pro wrestling fans. And I think that while it might not be the majority of people, there are people that a lot of people in that building know who he is. They're good wrestling fans there. So it wasn't like it was, a lot of people were, whispering to their neighbor to their right or to their left, like, who's that? No, they're pretty good wrestling fans out there, Kirk and all. They're well aware of what he's done in Dragon Gate and elsewhere. So good stuff.
Okay, Ishimori and Eagles also have 4 points. I'm really enjoying that. I like the aesthetic of these two smaller guys sort of zipping around the ring. I said on Twitter it was a bit like one of those 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up games where you get the smaller, faster enemies who sort of zip around across the screen and are quite elusive and difficult to catch. And that's what these guys remind me of. And I've been very impressed with Robbie Eagles so far. I went back and watched that match with Will Ospreay at PWA Call to Arms from last year, and he's obviously a very, very talented guy, and I really enjoyed the finish to his match against Liger and Tiger when he did I think it was the 450 off the top rope onto Liger's leg, yes, and then leading into the submission. So again, it's still early days for him so far, but I'm really impressed with Robbie Eagles. Are you in agreement?
Yes. I think he's doing himself no harm and only favors so far. Again, kind of reminds me going back to Will Ospreay talking about how Australia has become a bit of a hotbed, right? And and the working relationships that New Japan even has right now. What was it, that Gambino guy who we almost met at Wrestle Kingdom last year. Long story. I won't get into that right now, but so that relationship helps foster other relationships and bringing in talented guys like that. So I can't say I was impressed because from what I haven't had a huge body of work to kind of be like, oh yeah, he's great. But the feedback that I got from other people have been like, oh, he's great. So, and these are people that I respected already. So, they just helped confirm that, right? So it wasn't like I was blown away by anything. Everybody said he was great, and watching his matches seems to be great, and he'll be back for more, I'm sure.
Yeah, and they look good together. They look like a pair of punks from like a post-apocalyptic film like Mad Max or something. They just look good together. And I think there's a lot to be said for two guys looking like tag team partners, and they've definitely got that one going.
Agreed.
All right, we got Jushin Thunder Liger and Tiger Mask also have 4 points, and we seem to be establishing a dynamic here where Tiger Mask is getting the pins and Liger is eating the pins, and we've got this story going on with Liger's bad knee. But they got a big upset win over LIJ so far, and I'm enjoying their contributions so far. It's a bit different, we're working the gimmick with the sort of grizzled old veterans, using their wily smarts and experience to catch the younger, faster, fitter guys unawares. But I think their output has been pretty decent so far.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I always take away from this, though, is that just once I would like to see Liger with a different partner. It's always Tiger Mask. Right? I just wish there was just some way somebody else could be his partner. Even if it was like Kushida, right? And Liger would take the falls, of course, but I don't know, just something a little bit different. It always does seem like in these situations it's almost always Tiger Mask, so it does get a little bit repetitive. But again, we said it a million times, 50 years old, still able to perform at such a uniquely high level. What they're doing is again, they're making everybody competitive, and they're making everybody in the game still, and even the teams that aren't, are a little lagging behind in points. They're going to be making comebacks and building up to make it, as many teams as they possibly can to be in it as close as possible. So again,
we're going to be stuck with a load of like tiebreakers and teams level on points going into the last round.
Yeah, I mean that's what they do. I mean, you need a degree in mathematics to book that sometimes, but or maybe not. Once you figure it out the one time, all you're doing is you're just dropping in different tag teams to fill in that. Okay, you're that third place guy, so you got to win here, lose here, win here, lose here. And just follow that pattern. So, somebody should probably chart that to see like where like I'm sure there's some patterns that have to be developed a year after year after year of at least current day New Japan booking these tournaments. Just kind of looking at patterns of, okay, this team is at this point, so they're usually win the percentage, the probability of them winning, 2 days from now is 30% based off of past booking. I'm sure there's somebody that could figure that out.
Maybe something for Genius Cast to pick up. So we got the champions Yoshinobu Kanemaru and El Desperado. A fairly inauspicious start so far. They've only got 2 points. So they've been pretty quiet. I think this is a tag team who've had an underrated, underappreciated year. I think they've done a really good job in bringing some stability to the junior tag division, and they've had some enjoyable matches with their dickish heel antics, although haven't got much to show for it so far in this tournament.
No. Let me ask you this. You did mention something that I agree with, that they have been a stable, and not a stable as in a rock steady is what I'm trying to say, team, especially in the juniors. Do you think they get a sniff? Do you think they get any votes when it comes to Junior of the Year, either one of those two?
I think if you went back earlier in the year, a lot of people would have said El Desperado, but now I'm seeing him more as one half of this tag team, right, rather than someone with a vast, impressive body of work as a singles wrestler. Although he did have a really good Best of the Super Juniors and a really good singles match, a title challenge against Hiromu. I'm judging him more I think, as a tag wrestler. Although that might be unfair.
Well, okay. Well, then let me ask you this: do they get any votes, any ballots cast for them for tag team of the year for New Japan?
I think so. I think they should be in the conversation.
I think so.
Who else is there? Roppongi 3K had a very good start to the year. They had 2 excellent matches with the Young Bucks. Young Bucks, of course, will be in the conversation because I would say they've been given the most opportunities to shine because they're always given the big matches against talented opposition. But Kanemaru and Desperado are not always given such favourable spots. Often it's the opener, like the opener Dominion. They go out there, they've got 10 minutes to do their stuff, whereas the Young Bucks get 20 minutes to work in a spot higher up the card or often on the main event. So I think from the opportunities that they've been given, they have done a really, really good job so far. So, yeah, I think they do deserve to be in the conversation.
I agree. Now, again, earlier in the year, if we look at the halfway point, we were talking a lot about the Young Bucks and the type of year that they were having, right? They had a really good beginning of the year, right? A really good. And I think it was me who had said, is there any consideration for Young Bucks as wrestlers of the year? Right? Remember that conversation? It seems a little bit odd to be bringing that up now, maybe. But every time they get out there, they deliver. I think right now Bucks would probably win, but I think the junior tag team champions currently that definitely deserve some consideration because I think they've had a solid year, nothing blow away, solid, and I think that's worthy of, especially when you think about who else, God. Right, Evil and Sonata, they had a decent beginning of the year, and then they lost the belts, and that was that. Who else is there really? If you think about it,
no, it's got to be the Bucks because just off the top of my head, they had 2 outstanding matches with Roppongi 3K, right. 2 really good matches with Evil and Sonata. The God match fairly recently was good. They had the Golden Lovers match at the US show earlier in the year, so I think they're going to run away with it certainly.
Yeah. Okay. All right, there we go. We got that sorted. All right, what else we got?
Volador Jr. and Soberano Jr. Now, Volador Jr. is looking pretty hunky with his short hair and his beard. I think it's a much better look than the long hair and the clean shaven. So they're obviously representing CMLL, and as I mentioned last time, Soberano Jr. is probably there because Dragon Lee's stuck on an island somewhere. But what do you think of this team so far?
I think that what they do is they're the team. They're that middle of the road point getter that will always impress you in the matches that they have, right? Like, I honestly could watch their matches and be impressed with the, not to steal a Jim Ross phrase, the athleticism that they are able to perform at each and every match, right? They do shit that like, oh my God, what the fuck? They're going to kill them. With that being said, they're there to be the middle of the road guys. They're going to win some. They're there to keep the balance of the tournament in line, right? So while that is what it is, I think they perform that at a very high clip and a very high level, and they're not going to win it. That's for sure. They'll be middle of the road and do what they're asked to do and enjoy the paycheck, and that'll be that.
I'm going to give one complaint, actually. I think it was their most recent match with Kushida and Chris Sabin, where I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it was Volador and Chris Sabin starting the match off when they do the sort of synchronized drop kick spot, and then they kind of pose at each other. You know the spot I'm talking about? Yep. Where there's a load of synchronized moves, then they both do a drop kick at the same time, and then they back off and put their fists up, and the crowd goes, "Oh, I hate that spot." They're so overly choreographed.
Yeah, they're neck and neck. They know each other, and they got each other scouted, and yeah. That and the I saw one spot, and it might have been that same match. I forget. I think it's the one spot that drives you nuts is when they're hanging, like he was draped, like his feet are in the middle rope, right? So he's in the middle of the ring, and he's kind of like sitting on the middle rope, and he's holding on to the top rope for balance. So he's like almost parallel with the mat, and then somebody comes off like the top turnbuckle on top of him. It's like, just let go of the fucking rope, idiot. It's just, I hate that move. So, yeah, I saw that, and I thought of you. All right. But I think they're good.
But here's a positive thing, actually. I don't know if you noticed that they started doing the time calls in Spanish.
Yeah.
So they're doing like 5 minutes past, 5 minuto, and gopun keka, or whatever it is in Japanese. And they're also translating the Spanish in the backstage interviews, which they weren't doing before. So a little bit of global outreach to the Spanish language viewers out there.
I like that. Listen, let's open it up to even a bigger audience, you know? I'm sure there's plenty of Spanish-speaking friends that, again, we don't have translations here, nor could we afford that. But maybe if New Japan can do that and open up that audience, it's always a good thing, right? Always the opening arms is what I like to call it. So let's do that.
All right, ACH and Ryusuke Taguchi. Do you think Taguchi is a waste of space? Because I'm hearing a lot of negative stuff about him from various people. Joe Lanza, I know, has been taking quite a dim view of Taguchi's antics and saying that he's actually detracting from ACH, who's a brilliant wrestler, and every time Taguchi gets in the ring, it sort of spoils the match. Are you in the same boat?
I mean, we've been saying that for years, right? Right? But of course, everybody's going to, lay the boots to me to say, well, that's not his role, and blah blah blah. He's funny, and okay. I mean, that Taguchi, sometimes can be a little bit grating if that's not the pro wrestling that you enjoy. Now, again, that's not to say that he can't step up when the tap on the shoulder occurs, but. I mean,
has he done it this year, though? Can you name me a great Taguchi match from 2018?
No, but... No. How did he do in Best of the Super Juniors? Best of the Super Juniors.
This is the thing. I can't actually remember any particularly great matches. Compared to last year's Best of Super Juniors, 2017, I think he had a much better time out there. I seem to recall him having a really good match with Kushida. This year, I know he pinned Kushida in like a minute, didn't he? But the rest of it is just kind of a blur of comedy spots.
We should go back. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of it either. But I'm sure there's one or two in there that were halfway decent. Look, I don't know why. I don't think anybody's surprised by this, right? When you looked at the lineup going through the shows, right? You looked at the lineup, you kind of knew that's what you were getting, especially for the early shows. Now maybe later on, when more is on the line, that'll pick up for him. But yeah, I mean these opening shows. I mean, I'm not expecting dick all from Taguchi on these opening shows. That's for sure.
Do you think it would have been better to have a team of ACH and Tiger Mask and Taguchi and Liger?
No. No, Taguchi and Liger, that would have not been.
I'm just thinking out loud, like, having ACH stuck with Taguchi is perhaps a bit of a waste of ACH, who's awesome. I love ACH.
Yeah. But here's the thing. ACH is not going to win this, right? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what, I mean, it's, I understand why somebody would say, like, they want to see ACH at a more of a high level, right? Because he's super talented, and I know, pants would be down at that point. But, again, four matches into the junior tag league, and we're going to bang on Taguchi for being Taguchi. I mean, it's... And again, ACH ain't winning it, so that's not the vehicle for that right now. There's other teams that they're trying to establish and reestablish. ACH is there for, to keep the balance right.
Okay, fair enough. So maybe we just need to manage our expectations with ACH. We did have a comment from Peter who said, we all know the Twitter statements of the foreigners not having fun in New Japan is work, but if you needed proof, just watch ACH's last match in front of one of the smallest crowds I've ever seen for a New Japan show. And it's true, like, you can really see his enthusiasm. He just loves being out there, and it is very infectious. It does make it more enjoyable for me as a viewer to watch someone who is obviously out there having a great time.
Yeah, but I agree, and 100%, but I'm not going to use ACH as a barometer of that, right? You know the people that you're using as the barometer of how management is changing or things that are now different, right? ACH is
I'm just taking this as a point to say ACH is great. I'm not using him as a benchmark for all the other Western talent. I just really like ACH.
I agree, and again, he's the kind of guy that looks like he's enjoying his work, which is always pleasurable to see. And again, everybody says it every time he pops his head out, on a show or a tour, is why isn't this guy full time? And I echo that as well. I think he's too talented to be. I think New Japan is missing a great opportunity to have him in a spotlight feud. Like for me, truth be told, I'd rather see him than Marty Scurll.
Yeah, I think I agree. I like Marty Scurll. He's a person who can switch it on and put on really decent singles matches when he wants to, but those are sort of few and far between when you look at his whole output as a wrestler this year. Okay, well, let's touch on then the last team, which is Kushida and Chris Sabin, who got 2 points. I just like that their finishing move is called Out of Time, which I thought was quite nice. And I'm also enjoying Kushida speaking English in his backstage promos, just really earnest when he's saying to Chris Sabin, yes, we must not lose next time, and things like that. I don't know, I found that very endearing. But these guys they're just kind of there. Nothing spectacular. They're solid hands, can make other people look good, but not really jumping off the page.
No, not yet. Again, they're there to keep the balance right. I think Kushida, the new look Kushida, with the chrome-like glasses and he reminds me a little bit of. Are you familiar with the band Devo?
No, I'm not.
No, okay. Yeah, all right. Well, maybe the older people that listen to this show.
Tweet out a photo and
of Devo,
side-by-side comparison. Yeah.
They're like an 80s synth. I wouldn't necessarily say punk, but they did more early electronic stuff, and they were kind of quirky. They were kind of pretended they were kind of robotic and shit. Yeah, you've heard of Devo. You've heard Whip It, right? Crack that.
I think
whip.
if I heard the song, I'd probably recognise it, but the name doesn't ring a bell.
All right. Well, listen, you're just a young guy living in this world. All right. Very good. You didn't hear Whip It. Everybody's heard fucking Whip It. Come on. Joel, you disappoint me on this one.
Deep breaths, Damon.
I know. First is Lanny Poffo.
Do you need to sit down?
I'm already sitting down. I haven't stood up once this whole entire show. All right. Where are we next? Where are we going? Who's the last team we got to talk about here?
That's it. We've done all of them. Just a quick question from Michael. What are the odds Robbie Eagle scores a full-time contract based on this performance? God knows the junior tag division could use more talent. I don't think we'll be seeing him again until Best of the Super Juniors, personally.
Yeah, me too. I think that's where we're seeing him return. And we will. I think he's earned a spot. And you'll see him like on Australian tours. Again, he'll be a guy that's brought in. At least in the beginning, he'll be a guy that you can lean to and be brought in, and then hopefully he'll get signed. I think he will.
Okay, let's dig in some of the Discord questions then. Jeff says, if Tanahashi wins the belt, how long do you think they let him hold it, and who do you think takes the belt? Also, if Naito takes the belt, does that dampen his title win? I still think Naito is winning the belt at Dominion. At the moment, I think Kenny's going to stay, so I think Naito beats Kenny for it at Dominion. If Tanahashi wins, I still think they go ahead with that. I think dipping back into the Tanahashi-Naito rivalry would be great. I think that would be a good headliner for Dominion to sell out Osaka Joe Hall again, and I don't think it would ruin Naito winning the title because I think the fans will be behind it. They are still desperate for Naito winning that title. So what do you think? If Tanahashi wins the belt, how long does he hold it and who takes it off him?
I don't think it's a 100% given that if Kenny Omega wins... if Kenny Omega signs, that he successfully defends the title at the Dome. Because I think a great moment might be Tanahashi Omega to Madison Square Garden. And that's maybe where he regains the title, right? I think that would be a wonderful moment for everyone involved. So, again, signing doesn't necessarily mean that dictates who's going to win Wrestle Kingdom. If he doesn't sign, I think he definitely drops the title at Wrestle Kingdom, though. Either way, I don't think Tanahashi's going to have a monumental run. I don't think it's going to be years. I don't even think it will last a calendar year. I And then if Kenny does leave, I think the two people that are in contention for that would be Okada and Naito. And I mean, you would think it would be Naito at this point, but at this, who knows with this company. So I'm split 50-50 between Okada and Naito.
Okay, we've got a question from Liam who asked about our end-of-year awards. I can't remember what you did last year. Did you wait until after the World Tag League before you did end-of-year awards?
No, it was after this show. It was after this Dominion show because our thought process was
Dominion.
I mean, what we got coming
Power
up?
Struggle.
Power Struggle. My bad. It's a long show. Yeah. So after Power Struggle, because our thought process was really the only other matches that really would be possibly in contention for that before Wrestle Kingdom would be the final, right? Like the tag final would have to be unbelievable for it to happen. And let's be truthful, there's so many other matches that are going to be better than that tag league final that we kind of started after the show coming up. So it's right around the corner, and it's right around the corner to be our third award. So yeah, it should be exciting, and we'll keep everybody posted. But yeah, it's right around the corner.
Yeah, Comms Pete Donahue. We're going to be in touch because he is the man as far as that kind of stuff goes.
Yeah, he gave us so years before I had my old assistant count up votes at work. Right. And then the year previous, I believe he was the one who made us the Google Doc, right? So everybody could see the votes as they were coming in and keep track of who's winning and who's losing and vote right online. So that made it 1,000 times easier. So we'll probably tap his resource again, make a doc, and away we go.
Okay, question from Tyler. He says there was a question floating around Twitter about what 3 cross-promotional matches between WWE and NJPW you would be the most excited to see, what are your 3 matches you'd like to see, and who would give Yano the most entertaining match, maybe R-Truth. Now, I think we might have answered this question a couple of months ago, but here is a match that I would like to see. I'll give you one match, and this has been something that I heard on the Wrestling Omakase podcast when they do the draft episodes, and John Carroll put this as one of their main events, which was Roman Reigns against Tetsuya Naito. What do you think of that?
I'm good.
Give me a better match than that.
I'll give you a better match than that. How about, he's injured, but how about Kevin Owens versus Tomohiro Ishii?
I like it.
We already saw Kevin Owens versus Shinsuke Nakamura before, so I wouldn't, and even though they're in the same promotion right now. But I'll go, I don't think they ever wrestled before. I don't think Ishii was never brought over for those tours. He only came over more recently. So I would go there. How about that? How about we go Kevin Owens, Tomohiro Ishii?
Okay, next question. Jared said, do you think the G1 would benefit or be hurt by going back to the semi-final format where the second place in each block faced the first place of the opposite block? I think it would be hurt by doing that. I think it's pretty good as it is. Her Block A winner faces Block B winner. Are you in agreement, or do you like the old way of doing it?
I mean, it makes it a little bit more, gives you a little bit more options when you do the semi-crossing block.
They're kind of doing that already, the way that you end up on the last night of A block and B block having 2 people facing off in a de facto semi-final anyway.
Right. Keep it the way it is. I don't need anything in my life to make it more confusing. Really.
All right, Mike says, I seem to remember in January of this year, Meltzer reporting that as part of Omega's re-signing for 2018, he, the Bucks, and Cody would be able to essentially book their own angles for the calendar year, and that there was at least the implication that they would be back under Gado's booking umbrella if they stayed after that. If I have all that correct, is the IWC perhaps unfairly labelling Omega and his crew as divas for their influence on this year's booking, considering this was all agreed to in advance and for a limited time?
Well, here's the thing. You go.
We don't know what the truth is. We're hearing rumours from various sides, and again, this is all just speculation and conjecture. So until we find out conclusively what the deal was on the table, then it's just hearsay, isn't it? And it's difficult to find the truth in that. What's your take?
There has not been a champion in any promotion, their top guy, that didn't have influence on the booking and to a certain degree could control their destiny, right? I don't care if it's Bret Hart. I don't care if it's Ric Flair. I don't care if it's Sting. I don't care if it's Kevin Nash. I don't care if it's Bruno Sammartino. I don't care if it's Antonio Inoki. I don't care if it's Stan Hansen. I don't care. Anybody who's holding that title for a significant length of time has some say in that. And again, I think Omega's on those upper echelon of people who have that say and that stroke, if you will. So, yeah, I think he's influencing what he wants to do and what he doesn't want to do. But I don't know if it's any more or any less than any other comparable world champion in any other promotion. I'm sure Steve Austin had stroke. I'm sure The Rock had stroke. I'm sure when it was making money, Nick Bockwinkel had stroke, right? I'm sure Harley Race had some stroke. So I don't know if banging on them for pushing their agenda is necessarily, fair, because it's been done throughout the history of pro wrestling.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't have anything more to say. I think you covered it very, very well there. Yeah,
I think it's a benefit of being that guy. You've earned the right to kind of have that. You're not Roppongi 3K where like I ain't wrestling that guy, or I'm you know what I mean. That ain't happening. But if you're at that level, then and that's a right kind of afforded to you for being a guy at that level.
Okay, next question then. Dan says, outside of New Japan, my favourite wrestling is the British Indies and WXW in Germany. Few gents are well versed in those scenes. Which 2 or 3 wrestlers from those scenes, excluding the big 3 in the UK, Dunn, Bate and Seven, do you feel would most seamlessly transition into NJPW? And if you're feeling up to it, would you mind conceptualising the path they may take also, please? 2 names which we've seen in these Rev Pro New Japan crossover shows. For the heavyweight division, Walter, and for the junior division, David Starr. I think they would do really good work in New Japan, and they would fit in quite nicely.
Walter is the one guy that I really enjoy. Again, I he might not be. I mean, he's probably more WWE centric at this point. But Flash Morgan Webster, I always enjoy. I really do. I mean, the gimmick doesn't hurt, right? It's right up my alley. But I really enjoy him a lot. I think he's a talented dude, and. Again, his career path seems to be more WWE focused than Japan focused. But if I could have any of them, I would go that route. I think it'd be a fun route.
Okay. He also asks. Also, as Joel knows, I've recently been working a murder trial. If you were to speculate who from the roster would be the most likely to murder someone else from the roster, for what reason and in what fashion, also asking for a friend, #pressing questions. And Aspir jumps on the back of that, so I have an addition to his question. Which member of the roster is most likely to murder and be able to get away with it? Which do you think would get caught most easily? So my answer for both questions would be I could see Kota Ibushi stabbing Kenny Omega with a big knife after a domestic dispute gone wrong, maybe over jealousy or something. I don't know whether or not Ibushi would get caught. Would he be good at evading the police? Probably, because he's good at sort of jumping over things and over things. And
but he's dumb.
He hides in his abandoned apartment complex that he wrestled in DDT, so that's how he would evade capture.
Yeah, no, but he's goofy. He's a goofy guy, right? He seems very careless. He wouldn't be able to hide evidence, right? He loses his passport. He can't get on a fucking airplane for the life of, you know what I mean? Like, he just seems like a real, little forgetful, little airbrained, airheaded, right? I don't know. He could do the murder. He ain't getting away with it. He would walk in and be like, he still have blood on his shirt and be like, oh, I forgot to change my shirt. Oopsie. I'm arrested. I'm going to go Suzuki, right? I mean, what is his nickname? Murder Grandpa? Is that what they call him?
Yes, you are down with the kids, aren't you, Damon?
I really am.
That you pretend that you're not.
I know. I have a Tumblr page. It's fucking great. Yeah, I'll go that route. And I'm going to say I'm going to make up some harebrained thing. He's like a loan shark, right? So somebody like Hanare or Chase Owens. Got a loan, he didn't get a nice payoff from New Japan, so he's a little short, and he needs some money to bring back home, and takes out a loan from Suzuki, and he's not able to pay back. He's not able to pay it back. So there's a little alleyway discussion, and he needs to be taught a lesson that listen, pay me. right? What? Your house burned down? Pay me. Fuck you, pay me. Right? Goodfellas, remember that? That's what I would go with. I would go with Suzuki doing the deed.
Yeah, I can see Chase Owens turning up for work the next day with no fingers left or something like that.
Right, exactly. All right.
Right, a question from Aspir says, not sure if you two listen to Eastern Lariat. I do listen to Eastern Lariat, but I was just listening to their recent show. One of them said that apparently New Japan is floating around the idea of splitting the brand in the front office. I guess due to how large the roster is currently. Do you think it's likely? If so, imagine you're coming up with two distinct New Japan brands.
No.
Which 5 wrestlers would you build each brand around?
No.
I don't know if they would do that. I don't think they would. But I think if you did have a separate New Japan USA brand where you had all those guys like the Elite, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, Cody, Mighty Skull, all of that, then I think that would probably solve a lot of problems and reduce a lot of grumbling from the hardcore long-term New Japan fans.
Maybe, yeah. I don't need another promotion. I really don't. Again, all that does is just water down a product. It really does. And again, we're trying to make headway with the product that we have, right? The one product that we have. We don't need to. We don't need any more confusion. We don't need any more another show. No, just keep it at one. I hope they're not thinking of doing that. I don't mean, but I'm saying no. That just means what I want. That doesn't mean that they're not thinking of it. That I don't know, but I hope they don't do that because that just means a watered down product.
Have you seen the WWE World Cup tournament that they've got lined up for
the America Cup?
The America Cup, yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird how everyone in the world is from America, as it always is. Because we're the only country that's really important, right, Joel? What? Did I say what? Oh God, I'm kidding, everyone. Just kidding, of course. I did see, yes. Well,
the question is, Tyler says, with the WWE booking a bullshit World Cup, how would you book a legit World Cup? How would you determine how many wrestlers get entry from each country? I think if you're going to do it properly, it's got to be one wrestler representing each country. And there's quite a few different nationalities in New Japan, aren't there? So you could have something quite interesting. So you'd have to pick one representative for each country. So obviously that's going to be tricky with things like Japan and the USA. Canada, easy picks, and then you got Tonga, Mexico, New Zealand. Right. You got the UK. That would have to be Zack Sabre Jr. in for the UK. What other countries am I missing? Australia, Robbie Eagles,
right? New Zealand, right? Isn't that where?
Jay White or Farley,
right? I mean, you could have gone Korea back in the day with Ricky Choshu and all those guys. Chono is American, He's born in America. Born in Seattle, wasn't he? Or he was either born in Japan, moved to Seattle, and then moved back to Japan or something like that. But Chono there's some Americanism in there.
And of course, Victor Zangief, who was the wrestler that the Street Fighter 2 character Zangief was based off of.
Is that right?
And of course, Street Fighter 2, known as the World Warrior, I think that's, maybe where the ideas started to come from.
Yeah, and who was the other, the Russians, I don't even know if he's alive. How about, Tony Holm from Finland, was it? Or
Finland, yeah.
Right, so there you go, there's that one. Sweden, I don't know if we have any representatives of Sweden. Where's Volkan from? He's probably like Austrian or something like that. Yeah, I think we probably. I know we're probably forgetting Otto Wands. Can we bring back Otto Wands from Austria from back in the day? I'm sure we're forgetting somebody that's pretty important, but I think it's a good list.
Oh, yeah, that's plenty. I think pick 16 of those, single elimination, and do a proper World Cup where you have some global representation. All right, that's all the Discord questions. Let's dip into a bit of Twitter. Kuma Guy says, what would you do with the Taichi Never title if Ospreay isn't fit by Power Struggle?
Yeah.
I guess you would slip Ibushi in there.
Yeah, that would make the most sense. Because, again, if we're following the Andrew Rich storyline, that's where we were headed for Wrestle Kingdom anyway. Let's slip Ibushi in that spot. He got banged up. I knew London Joel was at that show, and he was texting me about that. He was at that show and he got banged up, and he was giving me on-the-scene reports as it was happening. But again, my lifestyle is so busy that I'm probably like a good hour in between texting people back at least. I'm a terrible texter, Joel. I don't know if you know this. I'm not good at the texting.
Yeah, me too. It's usually because of the time difference that people back home text me and it's the middle of the night, so I just sort of glance at it and then forget to reply.
And unfortunately, I'm a guy who's like they're texting me. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning here, but it's afternoon for them. And it's like I can't, I'm on one I can only do one thing at a time. So I got to focus on that one thing. And like if I see my phone rattling, I got to like turn off notifications because I can't. And I have a lot of projects going on. So anyway, he was giving me that. So I did hear that. I don't know how banged up he is. I heard it was ribs. Was it? Is that one?
Yes.
Oh, right. You ever have anything fucked up with your ribs?
Yeah, I'm currently suffering from a rib injury.
That's right. How are you doing with that?
I think it's okay now. I just think it was bruised, and bruised ribs take about a month to heal. So I think I'm over the worst of it now. It's a bit sore when I lie down on it, but I think I'm ready to resume my goalkeeping duties next Sunday.
All right. Nice. Yeah, rib injuries fucking suck because anything you do, breathing hurts. So, and we know you need to breathe. Unless you're a plant. That's photosynthesis, from what I understand.
It's laughing at Mally, that's my main thing, because when she gets angry at me, she's hilarious, and then I just laugh, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. And she gets more angry, she starts yelling, and then I'm laughing even more, and the ribs start aching, and it just spirals out of control.
Ooh. All right. What other questions we got from our fine Twitter folk?
We have a question from, the Twitter handle has a lot of, they might be Japanese characters, they might be Chinese characters. Now, I can actually read them if they are Chinese. So it's Ace. In Chinese, it would be Shuai Jiao Zhi Chi Zhi, which means pro wrestling fans, I think.
Oh.
So, but again, I don't know if this is Chinese or Japanese. I assume it's the same meaning if it is in Japanese. Can Taichi retain, and what opponent you prefer for his Wrestle Kingdom match? I think if it's Ospreay, I don't think he's retaining. I think Ospreay's going to win it, and he'll face Ibushi, and that's going to be Ospreay's gradual transition into heavyweight. What do you think? Any chance of Taichi actually retaining?
There is a chance, but I think it's slim. And I'm on board with the storyline that you presented there, and that we call it the Andrew Rich. That's where I first heard it. I think he does not successfully defend the title.
Jeremiah says, is the constant Bushi burial by guests on commentary a rib or indicative of legit dislike of him by so many? There's a bit of history with Bushi. He's been made historically some scathing comments towards foreign wrestlers coming into the company, hasn't he? So it could be that maybe they genuinely don't like him. Am I way off base there?
I've always heard the feedback that I've always gotten from wrestlers has been that he was one of the more difficult guys to work with in ring. In New Japan, like Junior saying that. Now, and then I heard that kind of brought back to my attention through, like, just some random Dave Meltzer comment on Observer Live. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's a general thing where it's, that's the reason. But apparently there is something there. And I don't know if it's I don't know if it's just like how you have people in your life where it's like a minor thing, but you joke about it so much that it makes it feel like it's a major thing, right? Maybe that's it, but I think that there is something there, but I don't know the level of what it is. Let's put it that way.
Okay, Paul says, do you think NJPW should stick to what the Japanese fans talent want, or continue as they are with all this rumoured bickering and the USA expansion? For all the bickering, I think it's just a very noisy small minority, and the numbers suggest that they're actually doing okay, so I can't really criticise them too much about the direction of the product, even though if the stuff around King of Pro Wrestling wasn't to my taste. I think King of Pro Wrestling is always a tricky spot, so I think they're doing okay at the moment.
Yeah, me too. I mean, again, I know that people want to kind of harp on our criticism, and if you go back and listen to that show, to me it was, yes, we were criticizing that one aspect, but overall we kind of enjoyed the show too, right? To a certain degree. I mean, it was kind of middle of the road. With that being said, it's it's not doom and gloom at all. Business is good, profits are good, but again, we do a show about New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I think it's healthy and fine to praise the things that we think are good and shine a light on some of the stuff that we think can be improved. It's not all unicorns and rainbows, but I think overall business is good, health is good. Again, it's a very important time in the company's history. I don't think anybody can doubt that. These contracts being signed and the direction that they go from that it's crazy important. Again, I'm trying to really think back to another time when you could point your finger at that and say this is a significant time. The good news is that the company is smart and they do a good job of building and making stars. Again, when we go back to that New Year Dash show right after the Dome, and AJ's leaving, Nakamura's leaving, and Carl Anderson is leaving, and Doc Gallows is leaving, and trust me, everybody was rattled at that point. They survived, and they've grown from that point. So it can be done, but this is going to be a real interesting couple months. But to answer your question, I think we're in a real good spot. Business is good, and again, we see things festering, and we don't necessarily want those things to fester because we've learned from our history. Thank you very much.
Quite a few people have been asking if we've seen any of the OTT or Rev Pro shows, Rev Pro Global Wars, the OTT 4th anniversary show. I haven't seen any of that. I'm waiting for that stuff to go up on New Japan World. Have you seen anything so far?
No, I've been stuck between... I honestly, it took me all I could to catch up on just the New Japan stuff this week. It's been a crazy busy week for me with all the sports in the Philadelphia area. So... no, I have not, but it is on my to-do list. That is faux show.
Yeah, as soon as it's up on World, I'll be watching it and I can talk about it. Luis says, I just got a new cell phone and decided to load it up with NJPW wallpapers and ringtones. Do either of you have any NJPW stuff on your phone or devices? I had a really cool LIJ background wallpaper on my phone for quite a while, which is like a little animated like cartoon versions of the 5 people, and I was trying to find it at the moment so I could share it on Twitter and give props for the person who made it, but I can't find it at the moment. I can't imagine... I don't know, Damon, you got any NJPW stuff on your phone?
All right. Well, first of all, I don't appreciate him showing off and talking about his new phone, all right? A lot of people have phones, okay, buddy? All right? I got 2 radio shows. No, I'm only kidding. On my phone, I have my current wallpaper and background is a Toronto Maple Leafs logo and October schedule, so I can see when they play. So it's very handy. And I don't
Can you guess what my wallpaper is?
I'm going to say it's a picture of your wife. Or
no, close.
Scampy?
Yes, it is Scampy.
Look at you. You're adorable. But I will say this. On my laptop, on my MacBook wallpaper, is a picture from Up Rocks, is it? Where Liger played ping pong, right? And there's a shot somebody took where somebody's dog was there. So it's Liger sitting on the ground, full Liger outfit, and the dog is licking his face, his mask. It's adorable. That's my MacBook Pro wallpaper.
Okay, now we've got a question from listener Connell, who I need to give a very special shout out because this guy sent me that Zack Sabre Jr. t-shirt with I fight with my brain and an underlying hatred of the British Conservative Party, which I wore out when I went out for drinks on Friday night with a lot of my British friends, and they loved it. So Connell, massive respect to you. I really, really appreciate that. That was awesome. It's now my favourite t-shirt, and you're one of my favourite people. I don't know if I can put you above Scampy, but you are right up there, my friend. So Connell asks, if Shibata were to come back, how would you book his return and who would he feud against? Would love for him to be at New Year's Dash. I think he could be in Tanahashi's corner. Tanahashi wins the belt, and then afterwards Shibata comes out and then points to the belt, points to himself to close the show, and the crowd goes wild.
I don't think I could beat that. I'm down for that. Again, I'm hesitant to have him back, but if he's medically cleared and the doctors give him the green light and the thumbs up, then so be it. That's a great way to have it. I can't beat that. You win victory lap for Joel.
Okay, you'll like this next question. Wrestling Rating says, top 5 Andres the Giant Panda dream matches in NJPW. I think Andres the Giant Panda against Izuka would be good because Izuka would just come and bite Andres the Giant Panda and deflate him.
It's funny because we were talking about the panda earlier.
You don't have to answer that question.
I'm sorry. I don't give a shit about the panda. I'm sorry. I want to see the panda versus Kevin Kelly in a tuxedo street fight. That's what I want to say.
I'd pay good money to see that.
Yep.
Did you? I think I know what the answer to this is. Goldfather asked top 5 Dragon Ball Z characters. Damon, I'm going to stick my neck out here. I don't have you down as a Dragon Ball Z fan.
Truth be told, I wouldn't know Dragon Ball Z if you knocked it over my fucking head. I couldn't name one character. I think I know what he looks like. Is that the orange? And is that ACH's gimmick? Like ACH had tights that had Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, I'm gonna defer to you on this one because I don't know anything about it.
My favourite character was the little doll character called Chaozu, who was rubbish and blew himself up in hoping of killing Nappa, the bad guy, and it didn't even leave a scratch on him. And I thought, what a way to go out. Just absolute pathetic, showing the emptiness and futility of life there. But he was kind of cute. And I nearly bought a T-shirt with him on it when I was in Osaka in, what's the name of the shop that everyone loves? Don Quixote. But the picture of Chaozu on that T-shirt was him as he was about to die. And I didn't want to be constantly reminded of his dying moments when I was wearing this T-shirt. So I decided not to buy it. So there you go. There's my favourite Dragon Ball Z character. I'm not giving you 5 because it's midnight here and I want to get through these.
I know.
Zero Pi says...
Wait, do you know how I know it's midnight? I'm sorry not to cut you off. But if you listen really closely... The bells are going off by the church.
The bells.
The
bells.
So it's noon here, and it's midnight there. There you go. All right. Last question. Let's do it.
Okay. I've got to pick just one then.
The bells are ringing.
Okay. I'm going to go with this one. Zero Pi says, what video games have you been playing lately? Now, Damon, you told us about 6 months ago that you were playing, is it Getaway?
Oh, no. Payday. Payday 2.
That was it.
Payday 2. Truth be told, I haven't really picked up the Payday 2 much lately. Let me see what games. I'll tell you what games I have that I downloaded from Steam. Let's see here. I have Left 4 Dead 2. I have Fire Pro Wrestling. I have Payday 2. I have Insurgency. I have Day of Infamy and XCOM. And I think that's it. That's what I have. Oh, no, and I also have this trucking simulator. So, like, I'm a truck driver. I'm like a big rig truck driver, and it is so relaxing because all it is I just got to make deliveries, right?
Oh, Matt, you would love Shenmue because there's a whole bit where you have to get a job driving forklift trucks.
Really? Yeah. It's the most mundane thing. But I had to make a delivery from Los Angeles to, I think it was Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm driving down the highway and shit. And I got my GPS. It is madness. But I think it was like a Steam sale for because I get notifications when games go on sale for a ridiculous price. I think it's like a Reddit thing where you subscribe to it and you get emailed. Yeah, I have that. So I have a trucking simulator. And I think that's it. Yep, that's it.
A couple of months ago, just absolutely blitzed through Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne and Resident Evil 7, and I really enjoyed all three of them. Dark Souls 3 not so much. Bloodborne was superb. So I've got a massive backlog of games, and I told myself I'm not going to allow myself to buy any new games until I finish my backlog, which, let's close the show with this. This is how the backlog stands currently. 25 games. I've got Tomb Raider, the 2013 one, which doesn't work because the disc is scratched. Dead Space 3, Batman Arkham City, Metal Gear Solid 4, Sleeping Dogs, Game of Thrones, the 2012 one, the shit one, which Mally bought for me, but I kind of feel obliged that I've got to play it because she bought it for me. Far Cry 3, Hollow Knight, Nier, Borderlands, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, Grand Theft Auto 4, The Binding of Isaac, Destiny, Grand Theft Auto 5, Borderlands 2, Fallout 3, Dragon Age Inquisition, The Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion, Fallout New Vegas, and The Witcher 3. So those are the games that I've got to finish playing before I'll allow myself to buy anything new.
That sounded
I will probably never finish them.
And it sounded like the way you were doing that and the bells going off, it was like if the bells kind of bleed through, it sounds like you're at the Academy Awards and they're playing music off to get you off the stage.
I want to play the Yakuza games. I've heard amazing things about Yakuza.
Yeah, they look pretty cool too. Oh, you know what else I have? I have Borderlands. Borderlands 2. I do have that. As well. I have yet to play that as well, but it was like a Steam sale, and it came with like all the expansion packs. So it was like $10. I was like, everybody raved about it, and I was like, all right, let me give it a fucking shot. So, but it's literally been sitting on the computer. I haven't even opened it yet, let alone played it. So, there's that for you. All right, we done?
Yeah, I need to go to bed. Anything you want to say before I do the plugs and we get the hell out of here?
Yeah, let's do it. Super J-Cast has a T-shirt shop at Pro Wrestling Tees. You know it. You love it. You've been there. Well, now it's time for you to spend some money. $19.99. They're cheap, right? You can handle that. And I know shipping can get a little crazy for some of you, maybe living in the UK or somewhere else. Listen, soon Pro Wrestling Tees will have a Black Friday sale, and if I'm not mistaken, if you spend a certain amount, shipping is going to be free, right? So it's listen, it's not a small amount. You got to spend probably over $100, but listen, you buy 4 T-shirts, you got yourself covered, and we're there. So again, Pro Wrestling Tees /Super J-Cast. We would appreciate you buying a T-shirt. The new designs are up; they're ready for you. Our logo looks great. The Strong Zero looks great. Our new design from the world-famous Talpa. Awesome job. And
someone buy the Crisps one. It's not getting enough love. And
Crisp
that's
one,
one of my favorites.
Crisp one is struggling, so yes, we could use that help as well. So again, please, if you could, find it in your heart. We truly appreciate it, and you should support the show. And it means a lot. So there. Also, be on the lookout for the Eggshells podcast with Chris Charlton, both myself and Joel. We both recorded separate shows, separate interviews. Great time had by all on those. So those should be coming out shortly. Joel, I got to be honest with you. I can't wait to see them uploaded on a torrent site. Right? I got to be honest with you.
They will be up there. I've seen them.
Yeah, me too.
I've seen Eggshells stuff on there. So, wow. I'm so excited about the prospect of something that I've been a part of being on a torrent. I don't know why, but that just is tremendously exciting.
Me too. And again, that's helpful to us. And again, as a reminder, we do love Lanny Poffo. No harm, no foul. But yes, I don't want to see him behind the New Japan microphone. Okay, so we don't need any hate mail from Lanny Poffo lovers, please. The street. All right.
Don't send any hate mail at all, because I'll just mute you.
Yeah. We've
got no patience for it anymore.
No, we're hand waving all you turds. All right, very good.
Join the Discord. If you join the Discord, you get priority with questions for the show, and it's really cool. It's such an awesome place. Nicole does an awesome job moderating that, and